weather people out there today. This is Shauna Davies, your host of What the Weather. Thank you for joining us after the Thanksgiving holidays and getting ready for Christmas. Again, I'm your host, Shauna Davies, along with Mr. James Skivers, my co-host and partner in crime. And programming note, we have changed John's name from Bring Out the Met to Resident Met because he's always here. So, hey,
well,
John.
I think I can deal with that. I'll try.
Okay, fair enough. And today is episode 6, and we have with us a very special guest that I've been waiting for. May I just present to you Miss, may I just say, a woman, Lisa Teachman, who is Chief, may I say that again, Chief Meteorologist at KSNW in Wichita, Kansas.
Well,
Hi,
thank
Lisa.
you. Thank you so much. Happy to be
Boom,
here.
girl power. Yes.
There are not that many women in what we do, that's for sure.
Exactly, and we're going to talk about that. So how you doing today, darling?
I'm doing great. How are you guys all doing?
Oh, doing
Really
great.
good.
Everybody has come out of the whole pie and also turkey comas.
Oh, yeah.
Turkey
That
coma
kind of
over.
Definitely.
Okay.
Ready
Good.
for the Christmas one.
This is true. And of course, Thanksgiving came late, and now we're already jumping into Christmas. And it's going to be here in what, 3 weeks?
Yep.
Seems like this whole year has just flown by.
Oh, it's flying.
It's been crazy. So thank you for coming up to Kansas City
Well,
to
thank you guys
see
for having me.
us. You know, we've known you for a very long time. You're such a sweet girl. Plus,
Aw.
I wanted to have you first as a woman because I have never seen a woman. I know there's many others
Mm-hmm.
now. Didn't used to be, but you have such a passion for weather.
Thank
so
you.
where are you from, Lisa? Tell our guests.
I was, as I tell everybody, I was born in Wichita, but I was raised in Haysville because a lot of people from Haysville say that I'm from Wichita. The thing is,
Right.
I grew up in Tornado Alley. I grew up in a family that has been storm spotters ever since I can remember. And honestly, before I was even born, I think I was destined to become a meteorologist.
Really?
Because I found out with reading Mike Smith's book, Warnings, on June 8th of 1974, there was a tornado outbreak. It was from Kansas down in Oklahoma. That's the day my parents were married.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's
was.
fate.
Twist of irony.
But here's the deal. They weren't married in Kansas. They were actually married in New Jersey. So had they been
Really?
married in Kansas, I wonder if that reception, that wedding ceremony would have been a little bit different.
I bet it would have been.
Yeah.
But that's obviously, it was like your mom probably put it down to you. Like, okay, this girl's going to be a Met.
Well, the thing is, my sister came first, and I honestly thought that my sister was going to be the meteorologist. And I've even said to her, why didn't you become a meteorologist? Her response was, I never thought that it would pay. But the thing is, my sister, as I say, I'm the funny one, but my sister's the serious one. My sister is a microbiologist at the CDC.
Oh, wow.
Your whole family is just one big ball of smart.
But to have two women in the family that are scientists in
That's
STEM-related fields, STEM meaning science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, is highly unusual.
Oh, yeah, big time.
If you look at the statistics, about 30%, and it may even be just under 30% of women that get a degree in a STEM-related field do not continue. Or only about 30 do continue, but then the rest don't. So it's really, really low.
Do you know why, or do you have any
I think it's probably one of those
assumptions?
things where life gets in the way. Maybe you get married, you have kids, so you put that as your priority as
understand.
opposed to your career.
Yep.
So only about 30% carry on through.
I
And the
see.
thing is, my sister's carried on through, so she's going to, probably live out her career with the CDC, and I'm in meteorology.
Oh, that's brilliant. Your parents must be so proud of
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Is it just you and your sister?
Just me and my sister. My
gosh.
mom says that we wanted a third, but I think the Lord thought that we had our hands full.
But
leave it
look
at
at
that.
you. You're both scientists. So,
We are.
I mean,
We are.
that's just brilliant. They did a good job.
I
with
think they
both
did.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
That's
they did.
really awesome.
Yeah, it really is.
So when did you know that this was your thing?
Probably not until I was a teenager.
Really?
When I was a
Okay.
kid growing up, I was scared to death of storms. I really was.
So was I.
I mean, you would watch TV, and now they're my competition. But whenever a tornado warning would come out, remember it sounded like a cowbell, ding ding, ding ding. Yeah. You know who I'm talking about, John.
Oh, yeah. I remember
Being
the
from
TV
Pratt.
station living
Yeah.
in Pratt. I heard that all the time.
And I think hearing that, having the tornado sirens go off, my dad was always out storm spotting somewhere in the county, probably pretty close to Haysville at the time. And so he wasn't there. So it was just me and my mom. And we had a house that did not have a basement. So I used to pack up all my Barbie dolls, all my Hot Wheels cars, and say,
my
okay, let's go to Grandma's house.
That's
and if I
me.
didn't get to Grandma's house, I think that anxiety just went up, and my mom didn't know. do I need to tranquilize this kid? Do I need to slap this kid? What do I need to do to get her to calm down? And you have this tornado sirens going off. You have the cops that are going up and down the streets with their sirens at 100 miles an hour. And that just really raised my anxiety level. But looking back at it, yes, there was that anxiety of what if I get hit with a tornado? But I think there was also that excitement, that adrenaline rush that did happen when all of this was going on. When I was growing up, I mean, there were certain things that were kind of put out for me where the universe was saying, this is what you need to do, and I never listened. The first of which was, of course, my dad being an amateur radio storm spotter for RACES, which stands for Radio Amateur Civil Emergency Services. So when I was a kid, and usually he was out with my sister, they would go to some place within the county and they would relay the information back to Sedgwick County, to emergency management.
Okay.
And so while he was doing that, if you fast forward to 4th grade, Mrs. Stewart, to this day, she says, Lisa, I gave you your first gig. And when I reconnected with her, I said, first gig, what do you mean by that? And she said, well, remember I had everybody in our reading class do a broadcast and you were the meteorologist. Oh yeah, that's right. 5th grade, which this is ironic, 5th grade I was selected with my class to go take a tour of KSN. It was when Mike Smith had weather data there. So I was able to go and meet all the meteorologists there, meet Mike Smith for the first time here as a 5th grader. And this was shortly after, probably a few weeks after the 91 tornado that started southwest of Haysville, went through Haysville, south Wichita, and then up toward Andover.
Andover Day.
And so I remember the T-shirt that I had on. It had a big old picture of a tornado on it. And it said, Toto, I think we're back in Kansas.
Awesome.
That I wore. And who would have thought that decades later,
Right.
where weather data was at that time is where I have my weather office right now.
That is amazing.
Who would have known?
It's fate.
That is amazing.
Total fate.
I honestly thought I was going to be an architect. I loved drawing houses. By 5th grade, I thought, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I won a competition for drawing houses, and so I continued on that path.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Well, my sophomore year of high school, I took a drafting class. The moment I got into that class, I hated it. I hated it. I got an A in the class, but I just realized this is not for me. This is not what I want to do. I always loved television. You know, you grew up in the days of watching Cake and K-Witch and KSN. And I don't know, there was just something that was really fascinating about watching television. And I thought, okay, well, you know, I want to go to college. I love science. I love math. Why don't I look at becoming a meteorologist and see if I like that? So at that time, I wrote to all 3 chiefs in town. Ben Pringle, who was then chief at Cake,
Okay.
got back into contact with me and said, hey, come in for a day and see if you liked it. Loved it.
Cool.
A month later, divine intervention, I swear it was the universe again. I had a written letter that was typed out by Dave Freeman, who is my mentor. He is also my predecessor.
Right.
He said, come in with your guidance counselor. We'll get you signed up for an internship.
Excellent.
Here I was, 16 years old,
Awesome.
putting myself out there like that. And that really paved my path for kind of coming full circle. And what's hilarious is when I was an intern, Dave used to tell me all the time, you're my retirement plan. I thought he was just blowing smoke. And it's the truth. It's the truth.
Exactly.
Yeah, who would have known?
Wow, that's fantastic.
And it was because of Dave that I took the career path that I did when it came to college. I was looking at going to OU. I was looking at going to KU. But he said to me, you know, you could do Mississippi State. You could stay at home. You could. And I remember we were forecasting one afternoon, and he just nudged me, and he said, and by the way, I think your mom will really love it because you'll be able to stay at home. You could go to school at Wichita State, take your credits from there, move them over to Mississippi State to back to Wichita State. So I was taking between 18 and 22 credit hours per semester.
Wow.
So it was a lot.
That's
I was
a
working
bunch.
full-time at Walmart. I was interning 1 day a week. So I had a full plate.
I think John was working there at the time too, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, I was
He came
working
in
some with Dave. I can't remember the exact year, but
99,
it was,
I think it was.
somewhere in the late 90s there. Yeah.
98
I
or
was
99.
helping with them.
Because Fox joined forces with KSN, and
Yes.
that's where you came in, and that's how I met you.
Yes.
But, you know, at the end of the 4 years.
Oh, he knew you were going to be a superstar.
He did. He knew.
Oh, I knew.
You knew.
You had
He
what
told
it
me
took.
that.
You still do.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Oh, she is a superstar. I mean,
yes.
she
Yeah.
made it.
I mean, 18 and 22 credit hours a semester, got done, earned my BA in communication from Wichita State, And at the same time, I earned my BS in geosciences from Mississippi State. So as I say, I have a lot of BS to go around. I really do. And I'm never going back to school ever again.
But it's
I
good BS.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as I finished college, September 11th had happened, and a lot of the broadcasting jobs dried up. I mean, it changed across the board.
Sure.
And it took about a year before I received that first full-time job. Now, Jared and I, my husband, we've been married for more than 17 years now.
Wow.
We've been married a long time.
Congratulations. Wow.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
congrats.
So I think, what is it, when we come across the new year, it'll be 20 years that we've been together. And he still had a couple of years to finish up, but it was my time to kind of be the sole breadwinner to go for that first full-time gig. And it just wasn't going to work out at KSN at that time. And so I started applying to all of these places, and one place that had come to me previously the fall before was WSAZ in Huntington, West Virginia.
Yeah.
And it was more reporting than meteorology, so I said no. I didn't want to do the reporting part of it. Now,
you were determined. I want to be
was.
a Met.
Exactly.
Straight up.
But don't get me wrong, because the reason that I did the communications degree and the geosciences degree was so that way I could do the reporting part of
Right.
it. That was another
Kind of
thing.
like a backup.
Exactly. Dave always said, Dave had a vision of what the broadcasting industry was going to become. And he says, you need to be able to do everything. You
Right.
need to come with the changing times. And it has served me well, because I could do a story. I could go out and do a live shot. I mean, it all works out fine.
Perfect.
WSAZ approached me again when they had another position that opened up, and it was full-time weather. Here's another thing about the whole entire universe. WSAZ, I believe, was also the first station that Dave Freeman went to.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was. Because I think he was doing sports at the time.
Isn't that called synchronicity or something?
I don't know. It's really weird how things kind of aligned in that department.
That is.
And Dave and I kept in contact over the years. After West Virginia, my husband and I, we went to work in Baltimore, and, East Coast, Baltimore, I loved Maryland.
Really?
But my husband was working in Fairfax, Virginia, so he would have to travel an hour and a half each way.
Yeah, that's a jaunt.
My drive was
Ouch.
45, and it was so expensive to live there. There was just no way for us to buy a house. And I wanted to come back this way so that way I
Right.
could be closer to family. And he got a job in Kansas City, and then I followed up at KMBC and then, worked there for about 6.5 years. Then I worked at KCTV 5 for about 3. And then I got the call to come back to Wichita one afternoon from Dave.
For what position?
For chief. For chief.
I love saying that. I cannot not say that enough. I just love it.
You know what the statistics are for women as chiefs?
No, what is it?
Okay, so I believe it's also about 30% of women that are meteorologists that are on television. The rest are men. You break that down. How many chiefs do you think are female across the nation? They did a
Out of
study a few years
30%?
ago. How many out of all chiefs across the whole entire
And you said
country?
that's, what was the 30% about?
30.
again?
Okay, so if you were to look at every single broadcasting job that is for meteorologists,
Okay.
30% are female.
Okay.
How many chief jobs
geez.
do you think are female?
I'm going to say 1%.
8%.
Eight,
So I'm part of
wow.
the 8%.
Well, that's pretty amazing. 'cause
That's actually
I was
a
going
little
to say
higher
about
than what
10.
I thought.
And
I mean,
there's
because-
a lot of women do weekends, I know, on
Yes.
mornings, but there aren't that
Exactly.
many
Noticed
chiefs
that.
around.
I
you
think
know.
there is starting to become more of a surge as I see a lot more women, at least on social media. Hey, there's this female broadcast group where they congratulate, hey, this female is now taking this chief role.
Right.
So you're starting to see a lot more of that happen now.
And how do
Good.
you feel, real quick? I'm kind of digressing or diverting a little bit about there's female meteorologists and then there's female, what I'd call weather girls.
You know, when
Like, the
I still
LA
get called
girls.
I still get called a weather girl to this day.
Oh, yeah. We're going to go into that here in a
Okay.
bit. But, I mean, when you see these gals that have the short skirts and the boobies. So
Yeah, exactly.
And they're
exactly.
really not, it's like, okay, it's sunny.
You know, I was
here,
probably-
and then it's going to rain over here. So I don't know what for you to do. And it's not helping our cause.
I was
you know.
probably one of the last females to transition away from wearing suits to go over to dresses because I remember when that whole migration was happening. I remember the shoulder pads because I wore them, and then you start dressing a little bit more feminine as opposed to masculine with the whole entire
Right.
suits and that kind of
And
stuff.
there's such a great, it's like you don't want to look too feminine and you don't want to look too male.
You have a
And
fine
it's
line
that-
you have to walk.
That kind of sucks for us.
It does.
You know,
because-
whereas the men, they don't care.
Well, and the
oh, I
thing
didn't like
is-
your tie. You know, and that's about all you get as a dude.
women get the hair, they get the makeup, they get the clothing.
So Joe Loria, who was here a few weeks ago,
Yes.
said that.
Yeah, he said
feels
women
bad.
get more of it on the chin. They take more of it on the chin than men do.
Of course.
And the thing that I have noticed when it comes to comments from men versus women, the men want to prove you wrong on your forecast, but the women, they are the ones that will drag you down when it comes to the hair, the makeup, and the clothing.
Really?
It's the women.
Know that?
Somebody explained it to me.
It's jealousy.
Well, they also think that maybe because women are more nurturing, they think that they're kind of helping in that department.
But we're also very catty people, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like if they're sitting there in their bathrobe and they look and feel like crap and they see you, then, you know, they're going to get all jealous and,
Sure.
you know, and especially if their life's not going like they want. So,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, just look at it as like, well, you know, I would just, you know, if anyone came to me like that, I'd just say, well, you know, what's going on with your life that you have the need to contact me and tell me
Yeah.
this, you know.
One of the things is I wait for my bosses to tell me something.
Right.
A lot of times TV stations will bring in consultants. They'll work with you. They'll tell you the different colors that work for your hair, or maybe have some suggestions about how your hair should be done.
Oh, wow.
Or how your eye makeup should be done. I mean, I think women definitely get critiqued more than men
I agree.
do in that respect.
Yeah, I totally agree with you because I've seen them on even the national ones where I could tell that they've changed their hair and their makeup, and I'm like, someone came to them and said, "No, we need you to look a little more this way," and I thought, but the dudes all look the same.
Yeah.
I
I was
like,
wearing
that's not
one.
fair.
I was wearing one wild pattern dress one time, and this guy who did lighting and all this other stuff for Diane Sawyer looked at me and he said, "You know, that is the worst dress that you could ever wear to be on TV." And then he went in and talking about how this blouse that Diane wore was just awful, and that he requested somebody to go out and get her another blouse to wear for something that she was going to shoot. So different stuff like that. Yeah, it
Well,
definitely
hey,
happens.
you got compared to Diane Sawyer, so I mean, you know, you know, hey, I realize
I'll take that.
I'll say, you know what, I'm going to ignore the rest, but the comparison to Diane Sawyer, I'll take that.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Exactly.
by the way, excuse my voice, you all. I hope I'm not getting that flu.
I hope
going
not.
around. I know. That's why I've been careful not to touch anybody. But my sinuses and allergies are not being kind to me, so I sound like very low today. So, anyways, so you wanted to be a broadcaster. Mm-hmm. You made it happen. Mm-hmm. You're now at KSN. Mm-hmm. What are you doing?
What am I doing? We have done a lot
What's your
over the
goals?
last 2.5 years. One of the things when I first came in, I wasn't one of those where I'm just going to bulldoze and change this and change that. And my news director actually complimented me on that. She says, "You're the type that would come in, you would sit back and you would observe, and then you would kind of make these little changes here and there."
Right.
So she really appreciated that from her perspective. I have a great team underneath me. I have Ronell Williams, who does weekday mornings, which
a doll.
took him from Kansas City, worked with
Yeah.
him at KCTV5, and I think he is just a genuine, wonderful person to work with. A great forecaster.
Yes.
Weekend evenings, we have TJ Springer, who came from
Yeah.
KTIV up in Iowa. And he just has this energy about him. He has this likability factor, but also it has been a pleasure to see how he has grown into the severe weather mold. Coming from Maryland, you know, they don't get the storms that we get out in
They're
Kansas.
not used to
Right.
our
Exactly,
weather.
exactly. And I remember telling TJ when he first started, I said, "Dude, when severe weather season starts,
Be ready.
it's on."
Fasten your 5-point.
Yeah, and I'll even look at him sometimes when we're out in public, and I said, "Hey, TJ, what did I tell you about severe weather season?" "Oh, when it's on, it's on.
It's on.
It really is."
SHIT just got real.
It really did, yeah. And then Taylor Cox is, she's fresh out of OU. And
Oh,
she is our
cool.
weekend morning meteorologist, so it's great to have another female
Oh, yeah.
that is on staff with us.
Balance it out.
Exactly. And she's also furthering her education in emergency management. So she's getting her
fantastic.
master's while she is
Oh,
working for
brilliant.
us. And just to be able to see the whole entire team come together
You have a
over the
little
last
bit
year.
of everything.
It
in there.
really is. It is. And to see everybody come together and work as a unit, it just, I love it. I absolutely love it. We recently got a storm tracking vehicle, which
Cool.
my company has invested in. And we have a new set. We've redone our weather center. I mean, we've done a lot of changes. So I'm really happy with where we are. But it's building on what we have done so far and continuing to climb. We have certified by Weather 8 we're the top forecasters in Wichita. We are. It is an outside source with Weather 8. They grade us every day on our forecasts. I'm pretty picky about it. As my news director will say, I'm tough, but I'm fair when it comes to
that's
things.
exactly how you should be.
And so I'm really proud of the fact that we are number one when it comes to forecasting, because it is huge. Where we are in Kansas, and when I left Kansas City, I remember one of my managers saying to me, "Why would you want to go to Wichita? Why? You should be looking at Dallas. You should be looking at going to all of these bigger places."
Huge markets.
And it's like, I'm sorry, but number one, family is in Wichita. But also number two, it is the severe weather Super Bowl of the country.
Right.
You want to talk about some of the higher severe weather markets. You've got Oklahoma City, you got Tulsa, you got Wichita, and Dallas. There you go. And then, of course, if you want to talk about Dixie Alley, you want to bring in Birmingham and Huntsville and some of those communities. But why wouldn't you want to be in Wichita? Why not?
Well, and
Why
it
not?
seems like
And
a lot
plus
of...
you get 4 seasons too. I mean,
Exactly.
It isn't just
I like
severe,
to say
but-
I have 2 seasons.
Well, yeah.
I have severe weather season and winter storm season.
Yeah, that's pretty much like here in Kansas City. Yeah.
The last few years, it just seems like
Boop, boop.
severe weather season every single day. Boom, 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 boom. The first day that I went on air as chief at KSN, I had tornado warnings. And I remember first day. And I remember saying that to Dave.
That's fate testing you.
And
You got this, girl?
Well, you know what Dave said to me? He said, just like me 24, 25 years ago.
Real? Oh, my Kate.
He had tornado warnings on his first day, too.
There's too many coincidences.
A lot of
here.
coincidences.
This was definitely your
I think that
destiny.
I think it was a plan for me to eventually come back home. Like I said, I mean, Dave used to kid me all the time, and I thought he was just kidding. You're my retirement plan. And
And
no, I
you were.
really
You
am
meant
his
it.
retirement plan, yeah.
I mean, I'm so proud of you.
Well,
girl.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
well,
you.
Seriously, I mean,
you couldn't have picked a better mentor than Dave Freeman. He's
Exactly.
a very good guy.
Exactly.
Yes. So I'm super, super proud. And hold on, I have to use my glasses to figure out what else to talk about. Because, we're going to talk about women in weather. Mm-hmm. And so let's talk about that first. Let's go ahead and just get through this. What are your thoughts about that? Now, when I first started chasing in the 90s, it was hard. It was very, very difficult.
I remember as an intern in the 90s, because I started interning in 96, and there were hardly any women. I think in the Wichita market, there was one. It was Jolene Wall.
Right.
And I think you kind of averaged about one in the market.
Yeah, there were very few back then. I know that.
And as a storm chaser up here, I couldn't find anybody. And of course, we didn't have social media. We didn't, things, Twister hadn't come out yet, and all that. And I took heat even as a storm chaser, and I'm sure you have
Because
too.
of being a woman?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Well,
if
you had a guy tell you to go stay in the kitchen, didn't you?
Yeah.
Talk about
I
that.
went to my dad, he was a firefighter, and he did storm spotting too. Of course, back in the 70s and stuff, I'm like, how'd you storm spot, Dad? And he's like, we just sat on the roof and said, yeah, we got dark clouds. I mean, that's it. I mean, back then here, that's it. But he went with me because I was going to, I was in my 20s, and my sister and I actually were going to partner up. She was 14 years older than me. She loved weather too. So I got her into storm chasing and to weather, and we were going to be the Twisted Sisters.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we were going to learn and we were going to chase. And then she passed away. So
Sorry
I
to hear
said,
that.
no, it's okay. I said, you know what? I'm going to continue. I'm going to go. I'm going to keep
In memory
going.
of your sister.
Well, just because I wanted to, anyways, and for her. And
That's awesome.
And so I kept going. And so I had my dad go with me because, it's kind of intimidating to go to those NWS talk things.
Oh, sure.
Because there's a lot of storm spotters, these big guys with their ham radios and stuff. And it's like, I'm in my 20s and I'm frightened. And I'm like, okay. Of course,
Imagine growing up around the amateur radio storm
Well,
spotters.
yeah, I grew up with firefighters and police, so I was already afraid. I mean, there was firefighters and police and first responders in my house all the time. So I'm used to these people, but at the same time, I was trying to wiggle my way in and try to get guidance and a mentor.
Yeah, just getting into their world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And so there, after the talk, they're, of course, everybody's outside. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go. And I told my dad, I'm going to go in and talk to these guys. And he was like, well, I'm going in the car. Bye. I need a cigarette. And I'm like, all right, fair enough. Mm-hmm. So I go over and I kind of wiggle my way. And there's all these big guys trucking with their ham radios and all this. And I'm like, I'm really into spotting and I want to learn more about it. And then I eventually want to be a chaser. This guy looked over at me and goes, oh, darling, this isn't for you. You need to go home and take care of your family.
Oh, yeah. Well,
and you know what I did? I turned around and I went, in my head, think of one of those nuke bomb tests.
Yeah.
That was in my head. Like, I'm going to punch him.
Yeah, that's one
I
of
wanted
those
to punch
things
him.
where when somebody tells you can't do something, you're like, oh, just watch me. I'm going to prove
Exactly.
you wrong.
I walked away and under my breath, but loud enough for him to hear it, and excuse my language, I said, yeah, I'll show you, you bastard. Mm-hmm. I said it loud enough for him to hear it as I walked away, and I got in the car and I put my head on the steering wheel. My dad goes, what's the matter? And I went, this guy just told me to go take care of my family and I'm not going to be anything. And he goes, like, did I not raise you?
Yeah.
Are you going to really listen to that?
Mm-hmm.
Right there. So there's my story. And then there were others where, I love you, you're so pretty. And it's like, oh, for F's sake. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
It's like, can you just take me serious? He took me serious, and that's why I married him. So, anyways,
well,
back to you.
I have to give credit to my mom and dad for this.
Yes,
so
definitely.
my mom, growing up in New Jersey, Eastern European family,
Wow.
grandmother immigrating from Czechoslovakia when she was like 14.
We might be related.
Probably.
I'm Slovakian.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. So it was always the plan of whoever the boy is in the family, they get to go to college. And so my uncle went to college. My mom, well, what do you want to do? You had 4 choices, late 60s and early 70s.
Right.
You had the housewife, you had a secretary,
Right.
you had a nurse, or you had a teacher. Those
Bingo.
were your 4 options as a woman.
That's it.
And my mom really wanted to be a nurse, but she had a teacher that deterred her away from that, saying, you're not good at chemistry, you're not good at this, you're not good at that, you shouldn't be a nurse. And so I don't think she ever really believed that she could have done it. And from the time
That's too bad. That makes me
It is.
sad.
It
because
is.
that's how I grew up. My parents, from Frontenac and Pittsburgh, were just get a job and find a husband.
Yep.
And
Well,
that's it. Because that's,
my
they
mom-
had me late in life, so that's all
Yeah,
they knew.
yeah.
They didn't know how to encourage me to go to college or anything. So,
my mom put herself through secretarial school in New York City.
oh, she's awesome.
And she met my dad. My dad was in the Marine Corps. And his next tour of duty, he had 3 choices when he was in the Marine Corps, which it really wasn't his choice. It was the Marine Corps' choice. It was, I think he said Alaska, Jersey, or Vietnam. And so they sent him to Jersey. And that's where he met my mom, and they got engaged and they got married. And his next tour of duty would have been a place where she wouldn't have been able to go. Because as the saying goes in the Marine Corps, if the Marine Corps wanted you to have a wife, they would issue you a wife. And so he got out, got into the reserves, came back to Kansas, went into the aircraft industry.
Oh, okay.
But also when, they had my sister and they had me, I was always raised from my mom saying, I want you to go to college. I want you to get a degree. And basically, don't let anybody stand in your way.
I wish I would have been raised by your mother.
And the thing is, it was support also from Dad. If there were classes that we wanted to take that maybe we weren't necessarily qualified for because we didn't take the prerequisites, he went to bat for us. I remember him going to bat for me so I could take the drafting class. And I remember him going to bat for my sister when she wanted to take a calculus class because they were thinking of doing away with calculus.
Your parents are amazing.
So they really are.
Hey,
I think it's just because they didn't have those opportunities and they
Right.
wanted to make sure that they had those opportunities for their children.
Right.
And,
Well,
it rubbed off on us.
Yeah, note to our listeners that have kids, if they talk about science in any way, shape, or form, please encourage your
Absolutely.
children to pursue
Absolutely.
what they're passionate about.
When I have gone into talking to a lot of the schools in the Wichita School District, a lot of the teachers have come up to me and said, thank you. Thank you for coming and being an example, being a
Right.
woman, being a chief in a science-related field, because there are so many girls here that feel that it's high school, they need to find a husband already, and that's
Or they want to be a YouTube star.
well,
I mean, that's unfortunate right
Yeah.
now. I mean, it's all,
it's kind of going in that direction.
I know.
mean,
It's like the
TV
girls are
viewership
kind of
isn't
getting
what-
away from all the science and the math. And it's like, okay, how do we get them back?
You need to have women that are out there in these schools doing
Exactly.
this.
And we need to have, more role models. And again, that's
Mm-hmm.
why when you see these women with the little dresses and big hair and like sunny, rainy. It's like, okay, you're not helping.
So the thing is, the whole weather girl stigma came out of what? The 1960s and 70s. They wanted to jazz up the weather. Mm-hmm. And so that's why they put these women who are not qualified just to give the weather. And so to this day, I will be called a weather girl. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I went to school to become a meteorologist. I am not a weather girl.
Did you hear about what Ginger Z did?
Oh, she goes to bat all the time.
Oh,
it's great.
I love Ginger.
If you see it on Instagram, you see it on Twitter. I mean, they'll rip on her clothing. They'll do all this stuff to her.
Yeah, I spent a whole day with her once when she was with Reed Dimmer.
Yeah,
and she's awesome. I mean, she's like a lot like you. I mean, seriously, you guys might want an ancestry because you guys are a lot alike. I mean,
well, she does have Michigan ties, and I have Michigan ties too. So maybe there is something there.
She's a go-getter like you. Like, I am not going to let anyone stand in my way. And I love it when I saw her on Facebook, and she said that someone said, "You're an ugly weather girl or something." And she goes, "No, I'm an ugly meteorologist." Get it right. And I was like,
I earned that degree. Well, if you look at it from this perspective,
you go, girl. Yeah.
Look at it from this perspective. Lawyers, doctors, a lot of females in both of these. Mm-hmm. You don't call her a law chick. You don't call her a doc gal. You call them a doctor. You call them a lawyer. So don't call me a weather girl.
Right.
Great analogy.
You don't call them weather guys.
No, you don't.
Right.
Or well, they still call them weathermen.
Weathermen.
But still, I mean.
Yeah. But that's not even, and you rarely hear that.
It's a girl. I'm sorry. I grew up to be a woman. If you call me a weather woman, that's a little bit better.
Yeah.
Don't call me a weather girl.
Yeah. Girls.
But just call me a meteorologist.
It's
that's
a put
way
down.
off.
Yeah.
And we don't mean to go all me too on you, but or
not
feminist. It's just respect.
And it's
just we just want to be treated equal.
I agree.
And we want as much as the same opportunities and pay as men, but we're also bring it. If you have a problem with this, we can take it. Mm-hmm. We're a lot tougher than men seem to think. Don't you agree?
I think so.
You know, I mean, I've been raked over the coals a few times, and I'm like, yeah, good. Mm-hmm. That means someone's listening.
Exactly.
And I like that.
Yeah.
I'm fair with that. Mm-hmm. So, you storm chase?
Yeah, I actually storm chased quite a bit when I lived here in Kansas City for KMBC. And what's interesting is growing up, I never got to see a tornado when I was a kid because I was always going to the safe place where you needed to be, in the bathroom or in the basement.
Good for you.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I meant to say earlier, when you said that you took all your stuff, I did the same thing. Yeah. I was scared, and I would take my Sean Cassidy poster because I'm that old, and my little bunnies or my stuffed animals and stuff, and I'd put them on the basement, and then I'd go outside and watch the sky. Mm-hmm. So that way they're there, so I can run down there. Mm-hmm. So I'm sorry, I just wanted to bring that up.
Oh, no.
It's like we both did the exact same thing, and then finally I just decided, instead of being scared of it, why don't I learn?
Exactly.
And then it turns into a fascination.
You're saying your quote that I remember is knowledge is power.
Yes.
And every time I go out and I speak to school groups, I always mention that to them, that knowledge is power.
It really is.
And, we go through all the safety stuff and all that kind of stuff and talk about all the different tornadoes and different tornado experiences that I had. But the first experience with a tornado that I remember is the Heston tornado.
Okay.
March of 1990.
Okay. That was a big one for me, too.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that back around. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. March of 1990, I was fourth grade, I think it was. Okay. And that was back when, and technology now has improved to where you have that polygon of where that tornado warning is, they can actually pinpoint the different tornado sirens to sound within that polygon. Back then, everybody in the county got it.
Right.
And so here we were in Haysville, and there must have been a portion of Sedgwick County that was included in that.
Yeah, I remember, I don't know if that was for one of the Heston storms. I know there was a Heston storm, but there was also another supercell down near Wellington, I guess, in Sumner County. And that might have cut across the extreme southern part of Sedgwick County, so it would have prompted the sirens there maybe. Maybe that's what happened.
But what I remember was being outside on my driveway and just seeing the northern sky black for hours. And you hear the tornado sirens going off, and of course the cops are doing their thing. Right. And that just raises that anxiety level. And then, you hear afterwards that 2 people were killed in that tornado.
Yes.
There was the little boy He was doing everything that he should have been in the basement, and then the stone fireplace had caved in.
Yeah, I think that was near Burton.
And then there was also a woman that was killed on the road too.
Yeah, I believe so. And I'm not. I think that might have been up northeast of Heston. That might have been the next tornado. I'm not sure on that though.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we got it.
So that's what I remember on that day.
It was in the family.
Oh yeah, very, very definitely same storm.
And then the year after that, the 91 tornado, which was the, Haysville, South Wichita, grew into the mile-wide Andover that went into the Golden Spur Mobile Home Park.
Yes,
Is that right?
That's
also
it.
the overpass day.
And the overpass day. Yeah, that was a different tornado, wasn't it?
Yes, it was same storm, just a different tornado.
Yep.
And of course, my
was-
station is
I think
responsible.
it was right after Andover.
My station is responsible for that video
Yes.
of Get Under the Girders. I did have a chance to talk to the gentleman who was the father of the
you did?
children. I did when I was in college. I hunted him down. I don't remember how I was able to do that. If somebody
girl.
was
Good for
testing
you.
I
that.
would love to have talked to him.
Because I asked him, I said, why did you do that? Why did you go under there? And he said, honestly, at that moment, I thought that was the only place for us to stay safe. It was one of those split decisions. And he says, I
can
thought that was the
understand
only
that
way.
actually, especially in that time.
Most people nowadays don't remember that video. I mean, but it was
That's
hot
good.
in the 90s. It was hot in the 90s.
Yeah, and that's where people would go so often to take cover, which is ridiculous. Yeah.
But then when you go to the 99 tornado, the day that Oklahoma City was hit, and then also Haysville was
That
hit, because
outbreak.
we had the F4, they had the F5. But people down in Oklahoma City remembered that video because it was still so fresh in their minds, even though that was the early 90s. They left their homes, and then they went under overpasses in order to take shelter, and then that's how many of them died.
It showed where
There were a
their
lot of deaths
bodies
because of
were. Oh, gosh, that
Exactly.
was just brutal.
Exactly.
And I still see it to this day.
Yep.
Still see it. And
There are images like that you'll never be able to get out of your mind, like that day. That day I was
saying I
supposed
still see people take cover, and it's
Oh,
just
yeah.
like, oh, come
well,
on.
and then ditches nowadays, and how that isn't the safe place to
Nope.
be, because after the El Reno tornado, because the El Reno being a high precip storm just flooded, and people were taking shelter in ditches, and my cousin Mark is a police officer for the Oklahoma City Police Department.
Wow.
And so he was actually watching where these canals were and trying to track down bodies days afterwards.
Oh, gosh.
So, I mean, growing up, that's what they said. You get into the ditch.
Yeah, and
that's
if you're out and you're in Kansas and there's nothing around you, what are you going to do?
Exactly.
It's either, and that's why I showed that in Surviving the Storm DVD, that I did. It's either stay in your car or get in a ditch. At that point,
put on the seatbelt with all the airbags and that kind of stuff nowadays.
That's all you've got. And
I think
take
the way
your
you put it
chance.
is, that's the best of a really poor set of options.
Yeah.
Oh, no
well,
kidding.
and I say the first thing is not to be there. You
want to stop what you're doing. And what I tell kids all the time is, look what that tornado is doing. If it is crossing your path from here to here, you're fine. Let it cross your path. Hold back. But if you're looking at that tornado and it's not moving this way, it's not moving that way, chances are it's coming right for you.
Exactly.
And
I
then
use
you have to
focal
make that
points.
decision. Yes.
Yes, look
And
for
so-
a tower, look for anything, and try to gauge. And
then-
as storm chasers, we do that.
And then I tell them, your best option is to go into some type of business. Go into a McDonald's or go
Right.
into
Somewhere that has a freezer or something.
something like that. I mean, you go into Dillon's in Wichita, and pretty much on every single aisle, they have a sign that says tornado shelters in back.
Yeah.
So they're gearing you where to go. So these businesses like that have areas that, they have their plan. They have their drills ready to go, and they act on that. You go back to Joplin, and I heard this from some people afterwards, that they were in some of the big box stores, whether it was Home Depot or Walmart, and they flipped the shopping carts over. And the shopping carts, working as a steel cage, protected them as the ceiling came caving in on them.
I didn't know that.
That's genius.
That is smart.
I've never
It is
thought
real
of
smart.
that.
It was really smart.
Very smart.
I know.
Well, okay, folks. Okay, we're going to add that to our awareness. Yes.
Arsenal of things.
Maybe
to
we'll have to do a
protect yourself.
surviving part 2, and I'll have you help
And
me out
do
on
that,
that because
yeah.
that's something I've never thought of. That's genius.
Flip over
My
that
gosh,
shopping cart,
people-
steel cage right there.
It's amazing what
Yeah.
people can come up with just to give them protection. I mean, that's great.
I think those were some people that just realized that they couldn't get to the back of the store in time.
And
they were
just
some of the
whatever you can do.
exactly. But the 99 tornado, I was supposed to intern that day.
Oh, okay.
My car broke
At
down.
KSN or?
Yeah.
Okay.
My car broke down that day. And my dad, who was working for Cessna, he has now since retired. He was flying back from somewhere because he was working on a citation somewhere. And my car was blocking everybody else's. My mom had to rent. Okay, here you are, I was a freshman in college, and here you are, your mom has to rent a car and take you to school. And then she has to pick you back up and wait for your dad to come back, because I think the alternator went out my Thunderbird or something like that.
Hey, that's determination, though.
It was.
Yeah.
And I remember he came back and he fixed the car, and it was about 6 or 6:30 in the afternoon, or in the evening. And he said, okay, here we were in Haysville. I want you to drive it for about 20, 30 minutes, warm it up near Clearwater, and then come back. And I remember as I got closer to Clearwater, just how beautiful the towering cumulonimbus clouds were to the south and west. And who would have known that 2 hours later, that storm would go right up the railroad tracks from my hometown. All tornadoes are devastating, but this one really had a huge impact, had a huge hit at Haysville at that time.
Yes, it did.
I mean, we had a wonderful mayor, Tim Norton, who worked with different folks to kind of help get things back together, get the aid in, and to save people's jobs, because we had a plastics plant and they were ready to move it out of town, move it to another state. But he was able to save those jobs and help to rebuild this community. And you go back to Haysville to this day, there are some places where they still have debris wrapped around trees.
Wow.
Tim insisted, the mayor at the time, insisted that stay there. Just as a reminder.
As a reminder
that had happened here in Haysville.
Anytime. That's
very smart.
brilliant.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, I remember that day. I wasn't supposed to work down at KSN, but when I saw what was going on, I went ahead and went down. And I remember we were all there.
Rodney was there. Mark was there.
Yeah.
Dave was supposed to be in Western Kansas because they were doing some type of tour, and then they pulled him back, and he canceled.
Because they knew something might happen that day. And I remember we were all really. It was intense, let's put it that way, because that storm was coming almost straight north, and it hit Haysville, and it was hard to understand exactly what was going on. We thought it was going to come right up into Wichita, and thankfully the tornado dissipated as it got right to the south edge of Wichita there from Haysville. But I know Haysville really took it on the chin on that one.
It did, and then the mobile home park at 235 in Seneca, right up there.
Yeah.
And some people say that they still have parts of mobile homes at the bottom of that.
There's a little lake there.
Yeah. And what I remember about that day is my dad was doing his radio nets for RACES, his storm spotting group. My grandfather was not doing so well, and so my dad became the radio officer. So he's the main person now that all the storm spotters report to, and then my dad relays that information back to Sedgwick County. And he was doing his thing in his ham shack. I don't know where Mom was. I don't know where she was. And being the meteorologist, the budding meteorologist here, I was watching Dave do the continuous coverage on KSN. And I remember looking out the door, looking to the south, and just seeing this unbelievable shade of green. It was almost like the sea green crayon.
Yeah, right. And
I saw a little squirrel underneath the tree. And I thought, well, if he can be there, I can be here. It's not a problem here.
Okay.
Now, here's how things kind of went down that day. Now, where we lived was probably about half of a mile to the west of the railroad tracks. Of course, if you follow the path of the railroad tracks, say from like 79th Street and Seneca all the way up, that's the path that tornado took. It was a straight shot from the south to the north, which is kind of a little bit unusual.
Yeah, it was odd that it was going due north like that. And I don't have a good explanation for that one. Go ahead.
So, still don't know where Mom is. Dad's doing his thing. And the cable goes out. The cable goes first. At that time, KSN and KFDI were simulcasting with each other because they had that weather partnership. So I turned on the big stereo, and I was carrying on with the conversation while I'm still looking out, wondering, okay, am I going to see anything? Am I going to see anything? Still looks green. I still see that squirrel. I'm not moving. And then the next thing you know, the power goes. And you're never going to believe, I think I run so fast to get into that bathtub in our house. Just thinking, holy cow, this is on. Now, the smartest person in our family was our black lab, Bobby.
Really?
She had been in the bathroom the whole entire time.
See, animals,
I
know.
It's amazing how she knew the bathroom was the place to go in the event of a tornado.
Yeah, dogs just, even more than cats, because our cats are like, There's
Yeah.
a tornado. I don't care.
But the thing
dogs,
is,
no.
after that tornado,
they don't mess around.
she was never the same.
Really?
Anytime we had a
So
thunderstorm.
she's got poor little thing.
After-
PTSD.
I think so. Because,
Yeah.
dogs have such amazing hearing. I could only imagine what she was listening to.
And plus the pressure.
Probably,
Yeah,
yeah.
I wonder
very
if that
sensitive to
affected
that.
her, when the low pressure comes
Yeah.
with the tornado.
And every time she heard
Wow.
thunder, she was in that bathroom. Every time.
Bless her heart. Well, heck, instead of watching the squirrel, you should watch your dog after that. I'm like, why am I watching the squirrel? Just watch my dog.
Exactly.
The dog knows everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then, when it came to my career, we didn't get any of the storm chasing experience in West Virginia. Because I remember when I was on air for the first time in West Virginia, my news director I'd heard about afterwards wanted to pull me off air because I kept telling people, go to your safe places for the first tornado warning. But my chief had faith in me. He knew that I was coming from Wichita. It's a completely different ballgame. And he said to the news director at the time, she'll learn. She'll learn. And I guess, people are like, I don't know where to go. You're in West Virginia. You don't have basements. You do not have tornado sirens, which was new for me. First out of the gate, my first full-time job and all that. And I think this was probably my second or third weekend on air that had happened. And I was all by myself. And afterwards, you go over to Maryland, you don't have tornado sirens over there either. It's more of a flooding kind of a thing. You get the tropical systems.
Sure.
You may get one or two tornadoes. I covered a couple of them. Yeah. And then, of course, you come back to Kansas City being more of a flood town, but you also get the tornado experiences. And that's when I was like, you know what? I want to go chase. This is what I want to do. And the first time that I saw a tornado was the outbreak of April 2012. 2012.
Okay.
I'd worked
Was that
in
March?
April.
wait.
April. It
No,
was April.
Okay.
April 14th.
So I remember going from working the morning shift, taking a nap, coming down I-35 to Emporia, went from Emporia to Newton, went north, and we were able to see that one supercell that had the multiple vortices up near Salina.
Okay.
There were a lot of trees in our way. And, you could see a little bit of multiple vortice
People think
action, but that was
Kansas
about
is
it.
all like open. No.
No, not up there. Not where we were located.
Yeah,
at that
that's a
position.
hard chasing location.
Yeah. So with working at KMBC at the time, I remember, okay, do we just continue to come back home? What do we do? Do we kind of stay in this area? And I remember calling back and talking to Pete Grigsby. And Pete said, I want you to come back a little bit farther to the south. And so we do. And we're between Heston and Moundridge. We're looking to the north. We're on I-135, the interstate there. And Pete said, just be watching your southwest. And the next thing you know, we just see the evolution of the tornado. And you were on the other side
Yeah, a little
of that
synchronicity. We
storm.
were on the same storm, Sean and I were, yeah.
So I was able to see.
I don't remember each tornado now. I mean, it's
I
they're
sent
all
John the video.
blurs at this point.
I sent John the video because
Thank you.
I thought that it was just amazing to see what it was like from start to finish. And you see the wall cloud, and then you see the funnel, and then you see it's going down.
It's so,
it's
the
going down.
anticipation.
One of the things I didn't realize
Fantastic.
when this is all going down is the inflow.
Yeah.
And just how powerful
Right?
that is.
Yes.
And we were
And
on
watch that wrap.
Oh,
up
yeah.
in there and around,
Yeah.
and then it really starts
Oh,
to
yeah.
come together. Oh,
It's almost like right when it's starting, that's when the tornado sirens would go off. But we were getting hit with rocks and straw and all this other stuff to
we're
our
on the
backside.
RFD side, or
No, we were no. We were
okay.
not. No, we were
You
not
were
in
in
that
front of it,
position.
I think,
We were
or-
in front of it.
oh, you're in front
Definitely
of it.
in
So
front
you're
of it.
you're
Yeah,
probably
it's
in
almost
the
like
inflow.
it's way down here.
So you were
most
in the
definitely
inflow.
inflow.
Oh
yeah.
I've been in inflow where I've had to like put myself against a car because it was like, and I took a anemometer. I can't say the word for it. Anemometer.
Anemometer?
And put it up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was hitting 55
Yeah.
gusts
Yeah.
of inflow.
I can
And it was
imagine that's
straight
probably how
inflow.
strong it was.
Yeah, I believe that.
Here we
Yeah.
are with our camera equipment and all that kind of stuff while we're watching
Those
this.
are crazy.
And we hear the tornado sirens go off just as it's really starting to form into the funnel. And I don't know if it was somebody close to where we were that reported that. And then the next thing you know, the tornado warning came out. And then you see the tornado,
Right.
happen. And we're like, it's on the ground. It has made contact. We have a full-blown tornado here. And one of the things that shocked me at that time is, and maybe it's because of Kansans being Kansans and how we become used to severe weather. You know how there's that meme that's out there? It's like, there's a tornado warning and the person's like, where is it? Where is it?
Yeah.
There were so many people that were continuing to travel on the interstate. They were not pulling over. They were not trying to take their safety precautions. And here we were. And the video that I sent you, you'll see one car go on, and then you'll see a tour bus head to the north.
Of course.
Nobody was aware of what was going on.
Yeah.
And then finally the person in front slams on their brakes and gets over, and then that causes everybody else to pull over.
Start pulling.
And the first time
it's like we're sheep. It's like we all wait for, well, we don't, but most people like waits to see what the others are going to do.
Sure.
And if they pull over, then they'll pull over. If not, like, well, if they're going, I guess
maybe I can beat it. Maybe I can beat it.
Yeah. Or they're thinking, well, if this person can make it, so can I.
Sure.
Well, they don't know that person's a total moron. You know,
just never know.
Yeah, it's like people need to start, going on their own knowledge and not what everybody else is doing. I noticed that as a chaser. Sorry, I digress.
So one of the things that you never realize when you see your first tornado is how are you going to react? Are you going to be one of the hysterical people? It's like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Or are you going to be completely serious about it? And I was completely serious about it.
That's what I would expect from you.
Yeah, definitely.
I was not like,
I would be,
oh my gosh, I've got a tornado. No.
Yeah.
No, not at all. And my heart instantly went to, okay, well, we need to get back into this car. Let's abandon this. Let's see if anybody is hurt, if anybody needs our help.
Very
and one
good.
house was hit, and I'm glad that no cars were knocked over that I knew of on the interstate.
I'm not aware of any either.
But what I remember is when we were going northbound on I-135 and just looking over to my right and just seeing that perfect stovepipe tornado right there. Perfect tornado. And then I met up with that tornado again, that supercell up near Junction City.
Oh, okay. So you went all the way up to I-70 there almost.
Well, at the station, what time did that tornado happen? Was it 7:30, 7:45?
All I remember is Sean
Was
and
that
I
the
were...
one that we had to go north because the east route was closed by the cops?
Yeah.
But that was a good thing because we got a better shot. Seriously, it worked out perfect for us.
Well, as opposed to Lisa's position, we were behind it. And because it was low contrast and it was getting nearly dark at that point.
Yes, it was.
That was a beaut.
We can only see it in the lightning.
Yeah, I remember that now. That was a beaut.
So this probably was 7:30, 7:45.
Yes, it was. Something like that.
Yeah, it was getting dark then.
Here I was north of Heston.
Right.
My news managers wanted me in Topeka by 9. That wasn't going to happen. I was like, mathematically, I don't think I can drive from Heston to Salina over to Topeka in an hour and 15, an hour and a half,
especially
somewhere like that.
with what's been going on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I meet up with the storm again and near Junction City, and we decide to hold back because Pete said, okay, I need you to just hold on a second.
Okay.
And at that time, I received a text from my dad that you never want to receive from your parents.
Yeah, I remember that night too.
So that was the night that Oak Lawn and also Spirit,
they
were hit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there was also talk that, Haysville was also in the path of this.
Yeah, the tornado kind of went across the south and southeast side of Wichita.
Exactly.
Right. I do remember that because, you texted us after.
Here I am trying to keep my crew safe on the road, trying to keep, us alive to not run right into this other tornadic supercell because it was already after dark and you don't want to be caught in one of those positions like that. Mm-hmm. And the text that I got from my dad was, large tornado headed this way. Wish your mom and I luck. Love you. Bye. Oh. And it took me hours before I could contact them. I actually had to contact my sister in Atlanta. And I said, hey, have you heard from them? Because every time I would try to call, I got a busy signal.
Right.
And so my sister said, hey, I'm on the other line with them. They're fine. They're okay.
Okay.
And I remember I actually called back to Pete back at KMBC and I said, Pete, this is the text that I got from my dad. Could you tell me what is going on? Because I think I lost internet where I was at, which by that time,
I think in that area is not a good internet.
By that time,
anyways.
It was where you had the air card that you had to put into the laptop, and you were just kind of at the mercy of, hey, 3G at that time.
That's a blackout place anyways.
Exactly, yeah. And so I remember Pete saying, man, Lisa, he was trying to comfort me as much as possible, because when you get a text like that, you think, okay, obviously they're watching stuff down in Wichita. It's
and
not
your
looking
dad
good.
knows
Pete's telling me this. My dad knows what he is doing. He turned over his weather nets to somebody else so that way he could get down into the basement with my mom. And I think the tornado did touch down briefly about a half of a mile, just kind of tore up some trees before it went on and did the full-blown, hit Oaklawn and then hit Spirit Aircraft before it lifted. And so we get over to Topeka finally. It might have been at 10 o'clock at night by the time we finally got there.
Right.
And we had heard what had happened in southeast Wichita. And I said, I'm going to go back and I'm going to cover it. So I did my tour of duty right around Kansas that day.
Yeah, you did.
Well, because we got...
Bless your heart. Wow.
We left from Topeka, got down to Emporia, but then it turned into a squall line. And so I was like, I don't want to be messing with 60, 70 mile per hour winds. So we decided to hold off in Emporia, either wait for it to weaken or wait for it to pass. And then finally it weakened. And I think we pulled back into Wichita about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, gathered some stuff, and we were on air by 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
So
I remember watching you on air that morning when we got back to Kansas City and turned the TV on. Yeah, and I was surprised you were down there around Oaklawn there in Wichita. So.
And then, I remember chasing on the day of the Harveyville tornado. We were elsewhere. We were at a different location. I can't remember if that was the same day where we kind of had a close call. It was either Marion or Chase counties. And of course, you're on a dirt road, strike one against me.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Chasing.
dirt roads are awesome, said no one ever.
There's strike one. Strike number 2 was, it was after dark. Strike number 3, air card into the laptop. It went out. Storm started to build back towards us. We got caught. And I just remember our car being pelted with so much rain, so much wind, so much hail, that my dad always taught me that whenever I'm storm chasing, the windows are prepared to blow in if they are. So make sure you protect your face.
Right.
So here I was in the passenger seat like this, just prepared for the window to come blowing in.
Right.
And then Mark Lee, who's my photojournalist that I trusted with my life, that we all did our storm chasing together with, finally got us turned around, and it felt like an eternity. And I remember when we got out of that, he looked at me and he said, Lisa, I just want you to know my foot wasn't on the accelerator, but our car was moving.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the next day we looked at our radiator and it wasn't black anymore. It was white because it had been pelted by so much hail.
I believe it.
Yeah. So that was quite an interesting experience. But Harveyville, Kansas, that was the day that you had a tornado watch, but no tornado warning was ever issued on that storm. They had a severe thunderstorm warning.
Yeah.
And of course, being a meteorologist, being the chief now, I always caution people that if we're in a tornado watch, you basically need to watch all storms closely.
Oh, sure.
You have to, because sometimes they can have a mind of their own like that one.
Bingo.
And I remember the folks out of Topeka, they noticed the anomaly on radar. They're like, well, let me see if it's going to show up again. So they wait for the next scan 5 to 7 minutes later. Anomaly is gone. But at that time, at 9:01 was when the tornado hit. And it went right through the southwest to northeast, right across Harveyville.
Right.
Okay.
And, that was the day when National Weather Service chat was really starting to come about and how we could communicate. Right. And Rodney Price, which I'm proud to say Rodney Price comes back and works for us at KSN. He's one of my mentors.
Well, good.
And
Rodney's a sharp guy.
Yes.
He grew up in Harveyville.
I didn't know that.
He grew up in Harveyville.
I forgot it.
And when I looked there, because finally when I got internet connection back that day, I was in Emporia sitting at a truck stop. And he says, it looks like Harveyville has been hit by a tornado. My family's house, the neighbor's house. And so that's when I knew that something was going on. And so I called back at KMBC and I talked to my news director and I said, are we going to send anybody? And she says, I don't know. And I said, no, you're going to send somebody and I'm going now. And so we went up to Harveyville.
Good girl.
Pulled in toward the end of our 10 o'clock newscast where, we saw the flashing lights and all that. And the first responders shut down Harveyville rather quickly. It's a small town as it is.
Yes.
But that was also a night that the volunteer fire department, they were getting together for one of their drills or one of their training sessions. So they were all at the firehouse and were able to respond quickly, which was awesome. And I remember when we finally got into the town, and got our press conference. I think a cold front came through. What was it, February 29th?
Yeah, I was going to say it was either February or early March. I think it was late February.
Oh,
this is 2014, I think. I'm trying to remember the year.
Or maybe 2012?
It's hard. It's somewhere in there.
Okay, so
I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, because 2014, by February, I was not with KMBC anymore. So I think it was probably 2012.
I bet you're right.
Because I think it was after Joplin.
All due respect, dear. I trust her assessment over yours.
I trust her, Sarah.
I'm trying to think back. The older you
You're
get,
so right.
all dates kind of blend together. We finally got into the town, and I was not prepared for the cold front that came through. I don't know how much we dropped. We must have had wind chills that were single digits, if not below zero.
Yeah.
I mean, it was awful.
Well, it was February, and when
Yeah.
you get cold fronts in February,
Exactly.
they were pretty good.
It's
So
like,
all four seasons in one day.
hey,
Wow.
I cover at KSN. I cover 77 counties among 3 states and 2 time
I
zones.
know.
So
Yeah.
I could have a full blown blizzard up in Goodland, and I get severe thunderstorms in Wichita.
Yeah,
it happens.
you're just having a.
I was just going to say earlier that is a tough job because that's one of the largest areas to cover,
is.
I think, of any television stations
And
in the
you've got
United
all
States.
kinds of shenanigans going on sometimes, especially around, between February and March.
Oh, yeah.
And then again in the fall,
The secondary
where
severe weather season. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Where up north, you're probably getting a front, maybe an Arctic.
Mm-hmm.
But then you still got, or maybe a low coming out
Yeah.
of Southern California that's going to juice up something.
Do a more southern track.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, or cold cores, a lot of cold cores in this time.
Oh, I could go on. I could go on about cold core tornadoes, after
Yeah.
the Joplin tornado and all that kind of stuff. But the Harveyville one with the cold front coming through, so we were all
Right.
shivering to the bone.
Oh,
and
geez.
we didn't get our press conference until maybe 12 or 12:30 in the morning. And of course, you're waiting in your car, or you're waiting outside because you don't want to miss it when it's happening. And it was all the stations from Topeka, our station from Kansas City, and I think one other station from Kansas City was there too. And we were able to get a tour. And
Okay.
it was a sheriff's deputy that was going to take us as a guided tour.
Sure.
So that way we have an escort because, power is out throughout everything. And sheriff's deputy was walking along, and my photojournalist, Mark Lee, was smart. He was rolling on this every single moment. Now, you imagine at this time, it's 2012, cameras that they use in TV are a lot lighter. They're a lot smaller. They're more compact. Back then, they were heavier.
Sure.
And so you have them holding on to a camera and you have them holding on to a tripod. And a lot of times you always want to ask your photog, can I carry your tripod for you? Just, it helps them out. It's
Right.
nice. Sometimes they'll want to carry them both because it balances themselves out. And it's just easier, on their back and their arms and all that kind of stuff. So Mark was rolling on this the whole entire time that this had happened. And this is probably the scariest situation. It beats that last scary situation that I had in Marion or Chase counties when I was chasing, because it was one of those that you didn't realize the threat was there until afterwards. So we're getting this tour, and you see all these people holding stuff. It is dark. It's probably 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and we come across this beautiful 2-story farmhouse, and there's a whole bunch of stuff in the front yard, a lot of damage done to the second level. And this older gentleman comes out of the house. Sheriff's deputy all of a sudden stops, turns around, looks at us, and says, "Don't say anything. Don't move anything. I need to go talk to this guy."
Sure.
Now, given it's dark,
Right.
probably can't see much, but his training kicked in, and he was able to do something that probably did save our lives. He goes up, talks to the older gentleman. They exchange a few words. Next thing you know, the older gentleman goes into his house. Sheriff's deputy comes back to us and says, "Man, I'm really glad I diffused that situation."
He was upset.
Oh, more than that. He said
Jeez.
that guy had a gun and he was prepared to shoot.
Yeah. See, I learned that in CERT on how
Yeah.
to deal with people like that because they get that way after.
You don't know mentally what's going to happen when you go
Exactly.
through something like that. So he's
Oh
looking at
my
this. He's
gosh.
gone through the trauma of a tornado. All of his belongings
He
are out
wants
front.
nobody around him.
He wants nobody around him
Got it.
because he is guarding his
Got
stuff.
it.
I totally get it.
Yeah,
And-
he's waiting for looters and all that.
Exactly. He
He's-
thought we were looters.
Yeah,
That's what
probably
he thought.
kind of a prepper type guy. Yeah, I get it, and I respect that. And he's probably in shock too.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you not be after something like that
Exactly.
happens?
So what a genius for that sheriff to go up and
I know.
do that
And to stop something
Wow.
from happening. Who
See,
knows how that could have
That's
escalated.
another word of warning.
Yeah.
When you go up to people, storm chasers, any storm chasers listening, be careful.
Always
because
watch
you
what
have-
you're doing.
They may seem nice, but they could be whacked out or in shock, or
You just don't know how your mind is going to work when you go through that. You do not know.
So be uber
Yes, indeed.
careful with that. Wow, Lisa.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, Mark and I went frame by frame by frame through our video. And sure enough, he had a revolver in his hand. He did.
Oh my God.
He did. Yeah.
Wow.
It might have been a 38 or something. I don't know, but it was.
So he was more dangerous than the tornado.
Well, here's the deal.
Poor guy and all, but
I understood where he was coming from.
Well, sure, but yeah.
And I'm a Kansas girl.
So so am I, and we get that,
I went up to him and I talked to him and I interviewed him in his living room.
Yes, I'm sure you did.
I did. I
You're
interviewed him.
Good at
he was a
getting
nice
people to let
guy.
their guard
He
down.
was a nice guy.
Just say, put the gun down. Let's talk here for a minute. Everything's cool.
I don't know where it is, but let's chat here. But that was one of the wildest experiences that I had, and
sure,
and becoming chief, I don't get to storm chase like I used to, and I think that makes my dad happy. I think he's
I can understand that.
I guess you could say that I'm retired from storm chasing now.
That makes
I have other folks that are doing
once in a while. We should get you out.
Yeah, I should. But with 77 counties, chances are it's one of my counties included.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah,
and another thing too, going back to the Linwood tornado earlier this year, that started in my territory.
Right.
That started in Lyon County, and I think I had the severe thunderstorm warning for Lyon County, and then it prompted the tornado warning for Osage County, and then it was game on with that tornado. Right. And we saw what was going on social media, because I still follow all the guys and gals up here in Kansas City just to kind of see what's going on, because here's the deal. People in Wichita, people in Salina, people in Great Bend, I still get recognized from being in Kansas City.
I believe that.
I go to the Kansas State
My mom
Fair.
still asks about you. She
Really?
still thinks you're here. Well,
Aw.
of course, she's got dementia and nursing home, but I talked
Just show her some of my weather.
I've talked about you so much that she used to watch you.
Well, thank you.
Wherever you were. And so she still asks about you.
I had so many people.
Which station? I'm like, Mom, she's not here.
I had so many people come up to me at the Kansas State Fair this year and say, hey, wondered what happened to you. So glad to see you at KSN. Great that you're in a chief position. Or we were on a summer road trip where we went around, and you would be shocked how many people have moved from Kansas City to Great Bend that watch us. I mean, we did Friday Football Fever, where we would go to all these different football games all throughout the Wichita area. And there was one guy he's a grandpa. He actually lives down the street from where we used to live up in Olathe. And he comes down for his grandkids' games. And he came up to me and he's like, I wondered where you went, and every time I came to a Maize South game, he came up to me. So it's one of those things where I still get recognized, but
Sweet.
You're on air for over 10 years.
I can
Kansas City.
understand that. And plus you're so good and you're so personable. There's a gal on CNN or something that kind of reminds us of you.
Oh.
She sounds like you and stuff, and we like her.
That's cool.
And that's like, I wonder if Lisa might be there someday. I never know.
You know what?
And that was going to lead me to my next question.
Yeah.
Is this it? You just want to do
I hope
broadcasting?
so.
Or do you want to do like research or anything else later in life?
I think broadcasting is something that I've always wanted to do.
Good.
Because it's almost like taking the family business to a different level. I was able to see as a kid how my dad was helping out communities, because it wasn't just the storm spotting aspect of it and reporting that back to the county. But when areas were hit by tornadoes, what amateur radio storm spotters do is what goes out? Your cell phone towers. So they come in and they help set up communication for the city. And, my dad helped out in Haysville. Greensburg, I'll never forget that day, because Greensburg happened a Friday night.
Yeah, it was a Friday night.
It was a Friday night. Mm-hmm. And I was working the next morning, because this was only maybe the second or third weekend that I had started at KMBC back in 2007. And I had heard about Greensburg when I walked in. And I remember calling my dad. And I said, hey, did you hear about Greensburg? And he says, yeah, I'm here. And he said, by the way, there's another tornado coming, and we need to find out what we need to do with these people, because we have no place to put them.
Because, when there's a secondary one coming up,
there was another day of
Yeah.
severe storms,
we chased that one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Greensburg Day, we were up in north central Kansas.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we thought the cap was going to hold.
Yeah.
So, but we went and, was it the Greensburg night? No, was it the fifth? What was the one where it flew that couple that was going from Colorado to, was that the same?
I don't think that was the same day, but I'm not sure.
Okay, but it was,
my memory's a little fuzzy.
It was a big day. No, that was, what was the day? The Doug Kiesling was chasing the tornado, and here comes the other one. What was that day? Quinter.
Yeah, the Quinter day. That was
Quinter, Kansas.
Back in 2007.
That was
8.
That was 2008. Never mind. I get those days mixed up.
Yeah.
Everything from 6 to 8, it's all
Yeah.
kind of a blur at this point for me as a storm
It's
chaser.
kind of like, okay, 2011, 2012,
Right?
2013. Okay.
I know.
Because those were some of my court chasing years, I think from about 2009 to 2013. I was in Joplin a couple of hours afterwards. Of course, you guys were there when it was happening.
We got out of there, actually.
Now we had trouble getting back in to try to help out, but
Yeah,
we did.
they wouldn't let us.
It was, we won't go there. That was a tough day. That
It really was.
a really upsetting day.
Yeah, I listened to Johnny Rollins, and he was talking about how everything kind of had that golden look.
Yep.
When there was a storm that was off into the distance that was leaving, and you had the sun that came out, and I know what he's talking about, that golden hour, and how everything did look really gold. But once you got into Joplin, and you just saw nothing at all.
It was gone.
I mean, that was such a shocking day. And also being part of the media, too. Being a part of the media, you really do have to watch what is happening around you, like what happened in Harveyville with us.
Right.
But also where we were stationed in Joplin, we had people that were yelling at us, get out of here, get out of here. We don't want you around here.
Right.
Get out of here. But at the same time, folks also have to understand that's the reason why the media is there, because it is to draw attention so that way they can get aid and they
sure.
can get help.
Very, very true. Very true.
Yeah, because
So-
at that point, after the outbreak in Alabama that year and everything, FEMA was out of money. By the time, I remember hearing that they were getting elephants and big animals from St. Louis Zoo to help move big objects.
Wow.
When they were doing cleanup. And we went and did cleanup one day and then did handing out supplies and stuff. And I was shocked a month later. I was like, wow, it just doesn't seem like it's even been touched yet. There's so much work to do. Still that fine line of dust in the air. And you could, we had
there are
masks
different-
on,
well-
and within 1 hour, I took it off and looked at it, and it was black.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, that there were quite a few people that died after
Yes.
the Joplin tornado because of, what was it, a bacteria?
Yes,
that
it
was
would get in
stirred
their
up
skin from the
Yeah.
dirt, because there's my cousin, she is the pediatric, she was the DON of the pediatric department, not St. John's that got hit, but
Yes,
the other
the
hospital.
other hospital close by.
And she was off that day, so she went into one of the high schools and did walking wounded and pulled in her nurses. And then afterwards, she would help, assist, for all, it was just overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And then they found there's something in the dirt in Missouri that's dirty. And it got in their skin, from being pelted.
The force of it.
The force of it, if they get like a splinter, there'd be dirt on it, or whatever, and it gets in their bloodstream and they get sepsis. And, several died after just from that.
And that's another one of the things that being a storm chaser, you have to watch out for too.
Exactly.
There are those other things that can happen that you you don't realize. And by the way, kudos to you guys for going out and helping afterwards, because there are so many storm chasers that won't do that. We do know that
there's
there are
a lot
different.
that really do. But thank you. No, I grew up in Joplin. It's like I said, my family's from Frontenac and Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So we used to go over to Joplin, go shopping, back in the day in the 70s. So Joplin's kind of like a secondary hometown to me. And plus we were working for the Weather Channel that year doing the tornado hunt. But at the same time, I was trying to find my cousin.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know, when I heard about the hospital, I was like, oh my God, where's she? It's like the first time I actually had to go find a family member. And I found her the next day. I think I even put it on air I'm like, hey, if I got this advantage, I want to find my cousin, So I understand that. And where are we at on time, dear?
Well, let's check it here.
Because I just want to talk a little bit.
I think we're good.
Are we good? Okay, good.
We're doing good. We got about 15, 20 minutes to go.
Oh, fantastic. But I just want to ask you also to get a little bit away from the weather, but back to women. Because... And, you and I, girl, again, fist bump, boom, girl power up in here. I feel like the Powerpuff Girls. Remember that cartoon? Yeah. What are your thoughts today about women?
I think a lot more women are being out there than ever before. I think there are a lot of women that are not afraid to go into these different careers that have been male dominated.
Yeah, it was a boys' club. I think we're kind of changing that a little bit.
Look at my sister. She's a microbiologist. Look at me. I'm a chief meteorologist. You know, I think a lot of the other gals are getting the support that they need in schools than they used to. Like, you look back at the support that my mom had versus the support that I had. Of course, I had the parental support, but also I look back at all the teachers that I have had. Not one teacher in the Haysville School District ever deterred me away from what I wanted to do. Mrs. Hain, Mrs. Hain is the one who drove me to KSN for my internship. She was my junior counselor. She was supportive of me. And I had different teachers for my Media Now classes that gave me credit so that way I could maintain that internship. And then, of course, when I went into college, they knew what I wanted to do, and I got full support at Wichita State from that too. So
let that be a lesson too, with support our teachers, and teachers thank you.
Yes, exactly. So I think that is a really big part of what helped me along, but I think it's also helping other women along too, that the times have just changed. And I think we're going to continue to see more women. I mean, if you look at all the stations in Wichita, we have 2 women at my station, me and Taylor. K-Witch has Sarah, and then Cake has Kat. So every station has a female presence in it.
Sure.
If you look at Kansas City also has females at every station too.
Yep.
I believe you're right on that. Yeah.
But it used to be where you didn't have any females, or maybe you just had one in the market. That was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So
that was the norm.
We'll continue to see how things kind of evolve over the
and I'm seeing that
decades.
on the storm chasing side. You know, have you ever heard of the? And I like to see that, and that's why when I did my talk at ChaserCon in 08, I was like, "Come on, ladies, girl up, you know, let's do this." I mean, I think we have really good instincts. You know,
absolutely.
I mean, like you and I grew up with weather. Our passion was there since the beginning. I did my science fair thing on tornadoes when I was 13, won 4th place in the city. You know, I knew then this is going to be my life.
But also when it comes to instincts, when you're out there in the field, when you're looking at the storms or when you're looking at them on radar, I think having grown up in Kansas and having spent more than 35 years in Kansas, with the only exception of a few years outside in Maryland and also West Virginia, I think that also plays into the instincts too.
Absolutely, because you know the weather.
Exactly.
I mean,
and you can look at the different models. You can pick out, okay, the weaknesses with this one, but then a lot of it comes down to your gut.
Do you ever look at the sky and kind of think like back when you were a kid and try to figure it out? I do too.
All the time. I mean, look back to the Heston day, trying to look, and it was just jet black.
Yeah. You grow up in Kansas. You just, after a while, if you're paying any attention as a kid, you just know when you see certain clouds or certain look to things, you really need to, have your head on your shoulders and know what's going on.
Or you get that feeling. Yeah. And it's hard to describe.
Thank you. I had that with that El Reno. I was like, honey, we got to get out of here now.
Yeah, you were right. We should have gotten out of the way a little quicker. Thank you.
Not lucky.
You just kind of also know what days are probably going to be the bad ones versus others. I go back to May 3rd.
I get that gut like sinking, really bad.
The air has a weird feeling about it.
Hey,
it really does.
I say that all the time, and there's days where I tell John, someone's going to die today.
Really?
Just know. You feel it, you smell it, or I do, especially if it's in southeast Kansas. Because that is such a hot spot for really, really bad tornadoes. And when we've chased down there, I'm like, oh gosh. Now, Reno was the first time I ever said chasers are going to die.
Yeah, I remember that being on the video. You said that's going to happen.
Never said that before. Right. Now, what I meant by that was amateurs that don't know what they're doing. Yeah. Had no idea what was going to happen.
Well, and that continues to be a big problem. Wasn't there a tornado a few years back that was out near Clearwater coming into the southwest side of Wichita? People were trying to get home and they couldn't because the roads were so blocked by chasers.
Yeah, I don't remember the specific day, but that sounds very familiar. And I think there was a storm coming up into Wichita.
And, that's not cool.
And there's a lot of that going on out there.
Yeah, and that's not cool. I don't like that.
We've talked about that.
And I will throw. If I see that, at all.
There have been certain days where if it looks like it's a big risk day, and it's been publicized pretty well, but it's going to be pretty much in a certain area. You and I have avoided chasing those days because we know we're probably because of the chaser convergence. You know. And we're going to be if we go, we're going to be part of the problem rather than being able to help out. Stuff. So
and I don't want to get caught by some chasers that don't know what they're doing, and that's actually kind of happened to us a couple times where someone's blocked us because they had no idea what they were doing, and we had to go out and move. We got to go. Got to get out of here. So, but anyways, my point was actually I noticed that with female chasers. Have you heard of the Facebook Women of Weather? It's called WOW.
No.
1,000 women belong to that.
That's fabulous.
I know.
I love it.
And I've joined it, and I'll chime in every once in a while. And they all just share their pictures and their experiences and stuff. And it's a safe place to go as a woman. Yeah. And I think that's great because when I started out and I would get involved in the community and stuff via social media, I was scared to post on Storm Track because I was afraid I'd get smacked, And so, boy, every time I go to ChaserCon, I kind of scan the room.
Look how many, compared to last year, how many more women do we have?
Exactly. Especially if I get a chance to go towards the stage and people are sitting, I kind of scan it and look to see the ratio of male to female. And I think I even said once when I said something that I had to present, and I'm like, the hormonal balance is shifting.
It's going to take some time. I think that they've always kind of struggled for, the science, the technology, the engineering, and the mathematics with girls. And I think it also goes down to the toys that we are raised with.
Right.
Raised with Barbie dolls and that kind of stuff. But I also went over to Hot Wheels cars, and, my dad worked on cars. And so I kind of, fell into that category. And I love muscle cars. 1969 is the best year of any muscle cars, whether it's Dodge, Chevy, or Ford.
Right on.
And the thing is, I think that some girls may stay within the realm of just playing with their dolls, but then, there is that struggle with a lot of toy companies. How do we get the girls involved with the video games? How do we get them involved more with the Legos and a lot of those other things that could be more engineering based?
Yeah, more analytical thinking.
But I think businesses, I think a lot of companies are getting better about that too.
Yeah.
And then a lot of those barriers are being dropped, that the girls don't just play with the dolls anymore and the boys just don't play with the cars. There is definitely cross-pollination with that.
Absolutely. Now. And that's great. So anything else you want to talk about?
Well, let's talk a little bit about, have you guys noticed this year in particular? And I'm not trying to bash our weather partners at the National Weather Service. National Weather Service chat going down all the time. All the time.
Oh, I didn't. A lot of times we have
I didn't realize that because I don't follow it probably as consistently as I should.
Because we'll have issues where, it's down again. So we have to go to kind of our backup method.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I did talk to somebody in the National Weather Service, and they say that is because the servers are old and there's no money for them. So the chances of National Weather Service chat going down are going to continue to happen.
Okay.
And I've noticed it more so within the last year to 2 years. And it's really difficult because if you have 77 counties among 3 states in 2 different time zones, and you're trying to get that information from emergency managers can't post because National Weather Service chat goes down. And how are we going to get this information to pass along to the public? I go back to the Eureka tornado that was 2018. And the Eureka tornado was a minute-by-minute thing that had happened. I think it was 7:08. The first severe thunderstorm warning came out, and then they upgraded it. They took the hail criteria up a few minutes later. Then the emergency manager comes out at 7:18 and says, we have a tornado on the ground doing damage in Eureka. And then by 7:19, 7:20, the tornado warning comes out. And if you keep having the National Weather Service chat that is going down like this, because
that's not good.
How is this going to help us out? It just seems like it is something that has really come about over the last year to 2 years.
Was it funding cut for NWS or for NOAA? That's what I read.
Budget cuts. They've had some, but I
don't think it's been bad.
You don't think it's a budget issue?
I don't think it's been too bad. No, they put these platforms out there, and they will grind them until they die. But I don't know. Has there been an increased presence? Are they inviting more people to participate in it?
That I wonder if that is happening.
Like,
if more people are
where's
getting
the
involved.
drag at? Like,
That's
are they
a good
sharing
question.
more graphics over there? Because it used to be just kind of textual,
No,
and
it's still
nobody
text.
really. Well,
it's still text, and it will go down, and we have to go to our backup system. And
Interesting.
being with other meteorologists across the country, sometimes they'll pop on and they'll say, "Is chat down where you're at?" And a lot of people will say yes, and it could be a
I wonder if there's more
countrywide type of thing.
lurkers out there or something like more people will join
Is there
to kind of see what's adjacent to
administrator
them.
or somebody to contact to find out why?
Every office has their own kind of representative for.
But
NWS
is there
chat.
somebody in charge of the actual?
Well, sure. Yeah.
Like an IT person or
I'm sure.
something, whatever. There's got to be somebody that can answer that question.
Hey,
Hey,
James,
Skyverse, yeah.
what do you do for a living?
Yeah.
Could you help the National Weather
Could you go
Service
kick
out?
them in the butt and tell them to
they
fix
kicked
that?
me out of that thing.
They kicked you out?
Well, I got tired of changing my password like every 30 days or whatever it was. So I think like I got too busy one year, and they're like, "Oh, shutting you down." I was like, "Well, hey, let me back in. I'm working for this station. We've got Severe Studios Radio Network. We got these other stations we're doing."
Right.
They're like, "Well, what are you doing? Are you Severe Studio? Are you this station, or are you a chaser? Like, what are you?" I'm like, "Well, fit me in wherever you want to fit me in at. I don't care." And then eventually I was just like, "Meh, forget it. I don't want it."
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then.
Yeah. No.
Or they're doing maintenance, and it'll be down for 30 minutes or an hour, and then the next thing you know, 13 hours later,
Yeah,
it
and
comes
there's
back up.
never a good time to do
That's
a
not
maintenance
good.
weather with that thing.
Yeah.
Especially when it's become kind of your cog for, everybody
Right.
to communicate.
Do you have any suggestions
they made
on
it
how
king.
to repair that? Or?
I don't know. I just think that meteorologists need to kind of get out there and say, look, come on, National
Let's
Weather
get
Service,
this together.
Let's get this together.
Well, if
because
they
there's
don't
a
do it,
reason-
somebody else will come up with it for them, and it'll be
Wow.
privatized, and
That's
that's not the
what
direction
we're
they want to
worried
be.
about.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we're. Well,
Yeah,
this now
that's
we're
a
going
tough
into politics, but I am worried. I mean,
I am concerned.
we can't deny what happened this year with the hurricane and the Sharpie and all that stuff, and I kind of get worried, and I keep seeing cuts going left and right. And it's
Communications breakdown. You got to have it.
yeah,
have
and
to.
Have
it's like, oh
everything
my
firing.
gosh,
You know, if I'm-
and that's why I'm going to ask Corey about CERT too. That's been cut in a lot of counties, and it's like, okay, no, we need these programs.
Mm-hmm.
These are vital to saving people's lives.
Yes.
Doesn't the government get this?
Mm-hmm.
That these are stuff we need, just like
I
we
agree.
need police and fire.
Because the thing is, when you have
police, fire, weather.
when you have 77 counties and you have a tornado warning,
a lot of ground.
and it is a confirmed tornado, you want to be getting as much information as possible. And sometimes people hold the information back because we're in the day and age of social
Right.
media. They want the likes.
Sure.
They want the shares.
Ugh.
And they're going to go to social media and then maybe think about going to the media or the National Weather Service to do something good for somebody in the path of this storm. And here you are, you're on air, you're tap dancing. You're looking at all the tools that you
Right.
have, which
Right.
we have so many more tools now than we used to.
Exactly.
Correlation coefficient, wonderful.
Yes.
Dual pool,
Love it.
fabulous to see all this stuff. So that gives us time to talk. But then also getting that information from National Weather Service chat, like the Eureka tornado, the minute by minute by
Right.
minute. When you're on air doing this, it helps.
Right.
But when it goes down, you're flying blind.
You have
Somebody takes your
nothing.
wrench away.
It does.
You got a tool that's really helpful, and all of a sudden, oh, wait, what are we telling people now? What's going on?
Yeah.
And
You just have to go straight by radar, and hope for the best.
And with Kansas, I have 7 different National Weather Service offices that I work with in my DMA. 7.
Wow.
7. When I worked in Kansas City, I had 3.
Yeah.
Now I have 7. I have Wichita, I have Topeka, Goodland, Dodge, Hastings, Norman, and Amarillo.
Wow.
So those are my 7 that I have.
Unbelievable.
And it's not unusual in the middle of summer for me to have 30 severe thunderstorm warnings out in western Kansas.
yeah.
It's not.
Wow.
It really isn't. And I noticed,
to juggle.
I watched Joe.
Yeah, so that I see where that chat helps you piece it all out.
Exactly.
and-
Right,
and
right.
get out the proper warnings at the proper place, the proper time, et cetera,
Mm-hmm.
et cetera. So it's a vital piece of information, right?
Exactly. And the thing is, you want to get the information in from the emergency managers or other people that may be watching that storm. So that way you can relay that to your viewing public.
I'll have to
Because-
talk to Corey.
We'll get Andy Bailey in here on this.
Yeah.
He's our representative.
Well, we have Corey-
We'll
we
talk
have-
to him
Please,
about it.
We have
please.
Corey Sloan coming in. He just got his doctorate, and he's an EM here in Kansas City and stuff. We'll ask him about that and see what he knows about it, and we'll get Andy and see what we can find out. And
The thing is,
I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, that's very important for you.
The thing is, when you're an on-air meteorologist,
all on air,
you can look at the tools that you can. You're looking at an elevated look of Doppler radar. You know, it's not at the surface. No. That's the reason why the ears and the eyes are so important. That's why we increased our chasing presence at KSN, and we have a storm chasing vehicle now.
Right.
I can look at this storm and, okay, is it going to do anything? What's going to happen here? That kind of thing. But it's great to have that. And if nobody can communicate to everybody, and I'm not just talking about my station. I'm not trying to be, the boss and say only communicate with KSN.
No, everybody.
But everyone.
Everybody. Right. We're talking in K-Wich. We're talking about Cake. Everybody getting that information out because we're all on the same page.
Right. You have to have a consistent message.
We have to have that.
The moment that your message is inconsistent, people get confused and then mistakes happen.
And exactly. It's not good.
And
at that point, the competition goes out the window, and it's just about saving lives. And then you can compete for the aftermath.
The thing is that people. You have to understand that when you're an on-air meteorologist, a lot of what you say and a lot of what you show is psychological. You have to look at that. You can't have just that scientific mind. It also comes down to the different graphics that you're showing on air, mostly sunny versus partly cloudy. They may look a certain way to me, but they're not going to look the same way to this viewer or this viewer.
Exactly.
This is the reason why meteorologists repeat themselves on air. And we don't repeat ourselves, well, one, because we are waiting for more information to come in. But two, people are tuning in at different times. People are tuning out. But also people go through a multi-step process before they actually take shelter. They have they have to see it. They have to hear it. They have to see it. They have to understand that there's a threat.
3 warnings before they'll move? I read that in sociology or something.
I thought it was 6 or 7 step process.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It's a multi-step process.
I read somewhere that they need 3 notifications. By the 3rd one, they'll start
taking it seriously.
Because I've heard they have to see it, they have to hear it, they have to know that there's a threat, they have to confirm it.
Yes.
I mean, there's all this stuff.
It's called optimism bias. It won't happen to me. So when it might happen. Even John and I at Linwood, when we were racing home from chasing up in Nebraska, and we were here, and we thought if that sucker stays together, it's coming right for us. Even he and I'm the girl who goes out and preaches, and I went, wow. And so we had to watch it, and I had to put Rollins on so I could actually see it. So heard it, saw it. And with our knowledge, I said,
you went through the whole multi-step process too.
Exactly. And I thought, oh, wow, this is the first time I've ever done this because we're never home, So, when there's a warning, this is the first time. And John's like, let's just get the cats, get in the car. I'm like, no, I want to go ahead and stay here because I kind of had a feeling it was going to fall apart a little bit. But never know. The parameters were iffy. But at the same time, I thought, God, I'm kind of in denial. And I preached this, and it's like, okay, but it helped me understand the public a lot better.
Yeah.
So it helped. I thought, okay, now I know how to reset and teach the public better on how, because I get it. I get what their point of view is. I didn't get it before, really.
Yeah.
Now I get it.
The day of that Linwood tornado.
You don't want to believe it's going to happen. Kind of like cancer or anything else.
Yeah.
You don't want to believe this is actually happening because it's so scary. So I get it.
The day of the Linwood, we had the severe thunderstorm warning for Lyon, then it grew to the tornado warning over Osage, and then, we're watching that supercell do its thing. And we had some other storms, I think, that had built back toward the Wichita area that were not as significant as that one, if memory serves me correctly. But I remember seeing the video coming out, and it was KMBC's video. It was Johnny's video of the Linwood tornado, and I'm like, oh my goodness. As an on-air meteorologist, you take that because it is a big story. It is happening to people that chances are you have people in Wichita that have family members that are in Lawrence, that are in Kansas City. They want to know what's going on, or they have kids at KU. They want to know, did the University of Kansas get hit by this tornado? So we decided as a team to continue to do cut-ins, talking about, the watch that we had for us, what was going on with us. But then I also started talking about Linwood, and I took a lot of heat. I was covering up commercial breaks, and I took heat from people saying, well, they're watching Kansas City TV. They don't watch our TV. But I did get one message from a woman, and she said, thank you for telling me what was going on minute by minute with that Linwood tornado, because my son was in his basement, and I was able to give him minute by minute updates of what was happening because his power went out. He could not watch Kansas City TV, but he got it from Wichita TV through his mom.
Excellent. Oh, that's nice. Don't you love those emails?
Oh, yeah.
Well, and I think that's kind of the shift that the NWS has made with the chat is that they've made it so they're not necessarily the mouthpiece, but they're kind of the whisper in the news media's ear, and then they let the news media be the mouthpiece to get to everybody. And that's smart because it takes some resources out of them, lets them focus on kind of the big picture, and then you guys can dial in to your regions to what's really good for your viewers.
Well, I have to say, looking back at the Linwood tornado and just how in sync the National Weather Service was from Topeka to Pleasant Hill picking up on
Passing it off.
And, but it was also how the media was in sync. And it was everybody in Kansas City that was doing this. And the fact that nobody was killed out of that tornado. I mean, that is saying something. That is teamwork from the National Weather Service with the media.
Absolutely.
That was a success of a day.
You had houses and
huge
structures
success.
wiped from their foundation.
Yeah.
I mean, that should have, if it would have been a little closer to town, I think that maybe you would have seen some injuries, but I mean, people had a really good bearing.
Oh, yeah.
on that
They
thing.
were paying attention. Didn't you? Who was it that said it was all TV?
Joe.
Was it?
Yeah, Joe talked to Andy, I think, and Andy,
Yeah.
when they did the NWS survey and they went door to door asking everybody,
They said it was
They were
all
all
TV.
what kept you abreast of the system. They're like, we were all watching TV.
It was
So-
all via TV, not their phones, not the sirens.
But they weren't getting the alert, like the push alert that
I
said
don't know,
tornado warning.
but Loria said that
I'll have
that
to
most
ask
of the
him about
people
that
that they
someday.
interviewed said that they were watching the TV, and that's when they knew it's time to take cover.
I wonder if that push alert that came to their phones drew them to
the county
TV.
EAS.
Because chances
Oh,
are,
I'm sure it did.
because chances are they hear that and then they probably went to
Right.
look outside and like, okay, what's going on here? And then they turned on the TV because, you have to admit the media here in Kansas City has developed such a great reputation from the stations that have choppers. And you have Johnny
Right.
Rollins and you have Greg and all of those guys up there.
Right.
And also their other chase teams that are on the field
ground.
that they have really built that confidence or that support for the people that are living on the ground. And they
Right.
trust them. They have built that trust.
Absolutely.
No, they've got good
Absolutely.
chiefs back at the station kind of orchestrating
Oh,
and
sure.
Yeah.
making all that happen and making it
pretty
all
much
fire on.
here in Kansas City, all the
8
chiefs are
cylinders.
still the same chiefs that have been here for a long time, and that's what makes me sad about broadcasting right now. It's like there's such a turnover underneath them.
In the
And it's
smaller
like-
markets,
and
yes. In the
back in
smaller
the-
markets,
right.
that it's like Wichita used to not be a starter market. It used to be your second or your third stop. Now it is a starter market.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't want to come to Wichita.
Right.
They don't want to come to the heart of Tornado Alley. And I'm just like, what?
Why would you?
Why would you not?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the generation just wants to go for the bigger markets and think, okay,
Yeah.
the
I
bigger
don't know,
money,
I'd rather
which is
forecast
not
blue
happening
skies in
nowadays.
West Palm Beach all day. Yeah.
I want to go to San Diego and it's sunny and 70.
Yeah, that's what
which-
Joe Loria said. That's what Loria said. He said he it's like, I don't want to work there where he goes 75 degrees sunny
I'd be
every
bored.
day.
I'd fall asleep,
But he
yeah.
said it's boring. He said here, you got 4 seasons, sometimes all in one day.
Yep.
So, well,
I mean,
anyway-
I
oh,
didn't.
sorry,
I
go
didn't
ahead.
want to leave Wichita. I'll be honest with you. When I first
I
started
can
my career,
understand that.
but it's like the universe
You're
had
a
other
Kansas
plans.
girl.
Kansas girl. I wanted to be near
Yeah.
family. I love the weather in Kansas, and the universe just had other plans. To go to West Virginia, to Maryland, and then Kansas
Well,
City. For
it's
10
good to
years.
get an experience in other markets
It
and other
is.
regions and see what their weather's like and what the
time.
people are like, and it helps you, to lead you where you are. And by the way, before we wrap, because we need to wrap so you can get back to Wichita and get your pretty little booty on the air and throw out some science. What's your shirt?
Okay, so my shirt.
I like it.
The weather outside is weather. Who can tell me that quote? Because there is a Kansas City connection with this.
I actually know the answer because you already told me.
Okay, the weather outside is weather. If you've ever seen the movie Forgetting Sarah Marshall, which is a hilarious movie, it's beautifully
it.
acted and also
And
well
it's
done.
funny as all
comedy.
get out.
It is. It's
a
hilarious.
hoot.
It was actually said by Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd, Kansas.
Mr. Guy who
connection.
will never age, ever.
He never does.
No.
But
he has a pod at night that he goes into.
Probably.
And just
Taco Bell connoisseur.
Yeah. He's so cool.
He was the surf instructor in that. And it was one of those where they're transitioning away from one scene to another. And he's like, the weather outside is weather. Yeah. I found that to be one of the funniest quotes ever. And of course, coming from Paul Rudd, which I have met his mom and I have met his sister, and they are just the sweetest.
I heard
and
they still live in the same house.
If he is anything like them, then he is just a sweetheart.
I heard that he's actually the kind of guy that you wouldn't be scared to go up and say hi. Because most Hollywood big ones, I would not even attempt. Yeah. But him, on the right place, right time. Yeah. So how's the weather, man?
Right.
He's just a very down to earth guy. I'm actually, speaking of T-shirts, what I want to get for John, I'm going to have this made. When you look at Twister, do you look at Twister data at all, or Twister data?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Or I think it may be the SBC.
Is it SBC or what is
it? Might be their HRR model.
The HRR when it's not in.
The her. See, everybody
her.
says the HRRR or the her.
Actually, Lauren
HRR.
Robinson came up with that. Or is that her last name? Or
yeah. Robin Robinson.
Yeah, and we picked up on that, so we got the her because I don't like the her because when
it
it's
changes
good, it's
so
great.
much.
It's like a woman, and then or not like a bad dude or bad boyfriend. When they're good, they're good. When they're bad, they're bad.
Or the GFS model, right? It's the Goofus model.
Goofus,
yeah.
Oh yeah, he's been calling that for years. Anywho, but when we say data, I say data. We're that couple, but I say data. Anyways, when it's not in yet and it says data or data unavailable, I'm going to have that printed on a shirt and have him wear it next year when we're chasing.
How appropriate.
I've actually ordered a few T-shirts from Helicity Designs.
Yeah,
they have
really
great ones.
I guess I need to look them up.
I got a green T-shirt that says the Extreme on it.
Awesome.
Okay.
Throwback to Twister.
Twister.
And then a few others. One that says there's a 50% chance it'll rain, but a 50% chance you're not going to see it. And what was another one? Oh gosh, I've had so many that I've ordered from them that are just hilarious. And they have some really cool shoes that have radar images on them.
Wow, I've seen those.
Yeah,
they're printed on the tennis shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When Brian
like
Busby,
Nikes or something.
It's like a Nike-ish kind of a thing. But there's this pair
I've
that I
seen
have
that
that's
on
pretty
Facebook.
cool. And the reason I was exposed to those was Brian Busby came down to Wichita, and he and I had lunch and
Busby,
visited,
that crazy guy.
And so he had these shoes on, and I said, "Buzz, man, where did you get those?" And he says, "Here, I'll send you the link." And then they're just the coolest shoes, and everybody talks about them. Yeah. They do. I wear them when I go out to school talks because it generates conversation with them. And when you're talking about radar, if you're talking to third or fourth graders, they don't exactly know what radar is. Although one school I went to, what was it, a first or second grade class? This little boy raised his hand and said to me, he's like, "Lisa, why did you assign radar the colors that it is? Why is it red? Why is it green?" So we had a good conversation about that.
Yeah, kids are, they're little sponges.
Oh yeah. I was really, my mind was blown that a first or a second grader was asking me this question.
Right.
Because a lot of people are like, I don't know what radar is, but yet he's like, what exactly does this mean?
Yeah. There are, when we would do school talks, and we haven't in a while, we need to get back to that. Yeah. And I love doing them. And I want to answer every question because I was the girl in school that didn't get answered, ouch. So I'd say, okay, and I'd look at the teachers, write me a letter, and I will answer every one, and I did.
Oh.
It took like a week to do it, but there's a couple I had to look up. I was like, what? This kid, and of course in 2003 when the Chiefs were, they're doing well right now, but we were kicking butt and 6-0, and it's like, hi,
the Joe Montana years?
But and loved your talk. Hey, by the way, the Chiefs are 6-0. I was like, but then he would ask a question, and I was like, okay, I have to look this one up to make sure I get him the proper answer. And I was like, I was amazed at how into it they were. So,
yeah.
So I, and again, any storm chasers or Matt's listening, please go to schools and talk.
Yes.
Let's get them young.
I think that it does well for them because it comes back to the whole knowledge is power. And one of the things and especially the girls, pay attention to the girls, please. One of the things that I always ask, my first question out of any class is, how many of you are scared of thunderstorms? Raise your hand.
That's what I say.
How many of you are scared of tornadoes? Raise your hand. Tornado sirens. Don't be afraid, because some kids may look at other kids and not want to show that they are afraid. And the next thing you know, when I say don't be afraid, you see several more hands that will go up.
And then I do how many of you seen Twister? You know, and of course, then they get excited. And so I kind of use that as a, it's not like that.
It's
you
not.
know, yeah.
No,
That was just for fun.
If you have a Dodge Ram that's, seeing cows.
Yeah, if you're seeing a flying cow, you're screwed.
Now, I love the Dodge Ram and everything, but you know what? It's no competition for that
we don't
wind.
throw that into a tornado. Yeah, and we don't take cover with a leather belt onto a pipe.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So I've had it. So debunk that. But anyways, Lisa, John is telling me you need to get back to Wichita. So I want to talk more.
Hey, we still have a few more minutes.
Okay.
2 or 3 more minutes.
Yeah.
What else do you want to know?
Anything.
Well,
give me what you got.
Back to the whole school talks.
Yes.
I have to say, I love it whenever teachers are raising these or teaching these kids, right? Teaching them to do thank you notes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
about, a few days after I do a school talk, I'll just get this envelope and it's a stack of all these thank you notes, and they'll draw pictures. And with our new storm tracking vehicle, Storm Tracker 3, they draw the vehicle and they draw me next to it with them. And it's so cute. They even put my heels on there. They have my short brown hair, and then they have the heels. It is just so darling. So all I can say is,
those are frameable.
It is.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if there is somebody that I am talking to now will eventually take my spot.
Oh my God. You know what? I think maybe you and I should do the ancestry thing, because you feel, I have actually said that. I'm like, you never know. I may have just sparked that it was in their mind, and and I maybe just brought it out.
Sure. It happened for me. That who would have known walking into KSN when I was in 5th grade to meet Mike Smith
would change your whole life.
Well, it's almost like the universe is like, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. You're exposed to this with, the storm, spotting family kind of a thing.
Sure.
And then to get the internship when you're 16, and you have a chief at the time, Dave Freeman, who, allows you to do all these different things and takes you under his wing and has intern coaching sessions where.
How was he?
Yeah. And John was there.
No, was he mean?
No, not at all. John was always quiet. Because we had Dorian. Yes, we did. Dorian is, he's got his doctorate now.
Yeah,
he is in Memphis.
He's been working in Memphis. I ran into him on a storm chase about 3 years ago. I think,
that's
something
great.
like that.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah, Dorian was one of the original interns under Dave, and we had another guy who went up to Topeka, and I don't think he's in the business anymore. But yeah, one of the original interns. It was a fun time.
Yeah, and that was a great thing he did, and that you did.
And it's been great to also see.
He said he knew when you were there or interned. He said, yeah,
she's going to go places. She's good.
No, he said you were determined, you were passionate, and you were focused. He said he'd never seen anything like it. Mm-hmm. I'm not kidding. I'm not, kissing up to you or nothing. I'm being honest.
Thank you.
He said she's got it. She's the real deal.
Well, I am super excited that you are the first chief meteorologist who's a woman in Wichita.
I am.
That's awesome.
I am, and part of that 8%.
What?
Yeah, it is really cool, and to come back to your own hometown too.
Yes,
that's hard to do.
What are the chances of that happening?
I know, right? I mean, that's just brilliant how you've done it.
Yeah, I'll never forget that call.
We've had some talks, back when you were up here, and I said, honey, just wait. It's going to work out.
It's your time.
And whatever works out is supposed to for you.
Exactly. And, there was one time where my contract wasn't renewed at a station here in Kansas City. And I just remember, okay, this is devastating for me, but I was picked up by another station, KCTV 5, which was just absolutely wonderful. I met some people there that are my forever friends. I mean,
right.
I grew a lot, and I'll never forget, when I was going back to work after, you basically need to take your marbles and you need to go play someplace else kind of a thing. And I remember saying a prayer, to give me the strength to walk in there, to do this, to do that. And right when I said amen, and whoever this is in Kansas, I just want to say thank you. It was a black sedan, I believe. and they had a personalized Kansas license plate on it that said "Mint to Be," MINT to BE. And I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. And next thing you know, I pass the car, and then the car passes me, gets in front of me, and it's almost like higher power saying that,
Lisa, that gives
seriously,
me chills.
there's a reason why this is happening.
Yeah.
And it all came full circle. It really did. You know, when Dave Freeman is calling you February in the middle of the afternoon, about 2:30 in the afternoon, you're like, is he okay? Is he sick? What's going on here? Is Tracy, the kids, everybody okay? And he said, I want you to know that in 5 days, I'm going to announce my retirement. Kiddo, I have watched you for years. I have watched you grow. Now is your time to come back to Wichita, time to build your legacy. Can you do it? Nothing would please me more if you were to come back and fill my shoes. So I did it.
Wow.
I did it. And I had the full support of my family, my husband, my sister, her husband, my good friends here in Kansas City.
I remember when you called me and told me the news, I was like, see,
you were screaming up and down.
Yeah, I was.
I don't think I have ever heard you that excited.
I thought I was trying to be calm, like, girl, I told you, but I was like, yes!
Yeah,
yes!
That's pretty much the way it was.
Yes,
and it lasted for a long time, too.
I was there when she was doing that.
What? Like party music in the background, and I'm like, what?
We were so pleased.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and I thought I was going to live out my career in Kansas City. I did. I was happy. I loved where I was working and the people I was working with.
Then I got sad. I went, oh, wait. She's leaving me. Oh, no. Now what am I going to do? Well, Wichita's only 3 hours away. We'll be all right.
And it's like, anytime you're in Wichita,
girl.
We'll go out to the Doodah Diner or something like that, have breakfast or take you out
Come up
someplace
here
to
and
eat.
we'll go up to Gates or Smokehouse or somewhere and do barbecue. So either way, yeah, we'll be fine.
It's perfect.
Yes. Oh, gosh, I'm so proud of you.
Well, thank you guys. And thank you for your support
incredibly
over the decades.
You are so welcome,
dating back
Lisa.
to the late 90s since John
You're
and I
not
first
done
met.
yet.
I'm not done.
You
know what? I am just beginning.
Yes, you are.
I'm just getting revved up.
This is the beginning of your new chapter.
That's right.
And you are really just knocking it out of the park.
It was all meant to be.
And your team, I could tell. I was watching you guys at Storm Chaser Con last year, and I was like, they just really respect her and really. I mean, I could tell that you are a great boss.
They are.
They really want to work for you.
They really are a great team.
That's important, and that's what makes a great team. And you've got it, girl. So
yeah, it's
I
not
can't
all
wait
about
to
me.
see what
It's
you're
not
going to come
about
up
me
with
because,
next.
Yes, I am the chief. I'm the one that's responsible for taking care of the equipment, for leading the team.
Sure.
But it is a team.
Yeah, you're like a family.
Right.
And I could tell that nobody is better than anyone else. You're all equal. And I could tell you treat your crew that way. That's important.
It is.
And that's how you get things done.
Right.
Right? So I cannot wait to see what you all have coming up here this year.
Yeah.
And then in 2020 and all that. And,
like I told TJ.
or the rest of this year, which is only like a month. And then in 2020.
When I told TJ, it's like when severe weather season is on, it's on.
Yes. And
March 15th through June 15th, that's kind of our window. We don't take vacations in our weather department at that time.
No vacations.
Everybody needs to be ready to go.
Yes, absolutely. And you still got ties here, and we're here to help you. So,
well, thank you.
Well, we need to tie this up. So, Lisa, you will come back, right?
I will.
Okay, good.
Thank you guys for having me.
Are you going to JaceCon or?
I haven't decided. I am going to AMS next month.
Okay.
So I'm going to the 100th meeting in Boston.
Well, we're doing our podcast there, so if you want to come by and say hi.
So you are going to in ChaserCon?
Yeah, we're going to be set up so anyone can sit down
wonderful.
and have a little chat.
Well, I'm really proud of what you guys have accomplished because I saw how much you guys have
me,
grown
I'm
from
always looking for a project. Anything to get information out. And
I think it's wonderful.
And
I
I think this is a good thing. And I'm learning my way on this, but I'd like to hear people's stories. And I'm actually, I've been doing this so long, I'm more interested in the people than I am the weather. I'm more into the sociology about it. So this is fun.
It is.
You told me some stuff that I thought I knew everything about you, and you brought out some good stuff. So if I don't see you then, will you come back and see us?
I will. Thank you guys so much.
Yes, we will be looking forward to your forecasts. So
thank you.
Thank you, Lisa Teachman. And next we've got Corey Sloan.
Yep, Corey Sloan coming in to hang
I'm
out.
not going to say his official title yet.
Nope, can't do it.
Can't do it.
He's got to turn in that
not
dissertation
yet.
first.
But again, thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
We'll be watching for your broadcast. broadcast. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
My voice is about gone.
That's all right.
It's-
You're allowed. It's that time of year.
Yes. So, again, you have a safe trip back to Wichita.
Will do.
Get your butt back on the air with your awesome team, and we'll see what happens this year. All right, people, we'll see you all next week. You all have a good one.
Thanks for tuning in. WhatTheWeatherPodcast.com.
James and Resident Met.
Yeah, check us
Wanna say
out on Apple Podcast and Google Podcast, Spotify, all that fun
Yeah,
stuff.
he knows all that.
Yeah. YouTube. We like YouTube.
And
Everybody
you too.
take care.
Yes. Thanks. Peace.